Chapter 20. Chen Guang didn't expect that his two right-hand stars would fall in love with him. After all, in his opinion, these people in the entertainment circle were like canaries that could only be watched from afar. He was just a nobody, so he shouldn't expect to repay them by marrying them for saving his life. From what Director Big Beard had said, it seemed that he wanted old Ma to give him some reward. Chen Guang wasn't a good person who didn't leave any traces of his good deeds. Besides, he was really short of money now. He had spent so much effort and made such a big embarrassment to save them, so it was natural for him to get some reward. Although there was no sign of this matter yet, Chen Guang was ready to accept it. But the most important thing right now was to put on his clothes. Old Ma was truly a shrewd person. He didn't even need Chen Guang to say anything and had already found a set of clothes for him. It's just that the style of the clothes looks a little strange. Looking at the golden armor in front of him, Chen Guang was also confused. Brother Ma, this is the costume of the crew, right? Don't make trouble. Just give me some casual clothes. Thank you very much. The workmanship of the clothes is so good, and they must be valuable. I'm afraid that they will rob me if I wear them. Ha ha ha, brother, you are so humorous. But I really can't help it. We are shooting a movie about ancient times, you know? It's about ancient love, gratitude and grudges, and battles on the battlefield. Among the props and costumes prepared by our crew, the only ones that can be worn by men are these armors. Today's scene has some ancient casual clothes. Unfortunately, everyone fell into the water just now, and they were all soaked, so they couldn't wear them. You, just put up with it. Brother, look at the color of the armor. It's shiny. Beautiful, right? Handsome, right? Young man, you have such a great figure, and you're good at swimming. I can tell that you're good at acting. Old Ma understood what Director Big Beard meant. At this moment, he was already planning to include Chen Guang. If it was some other time, and his car wasn't parked in such an awkward position, Chen Guang might really be interested in listening to this talkative Brother Ma's words. Perhaps he might even be able to use this opportunity to sneak into the production team and earn some extra money. He heard that extras were also rich, and with how he had saved Brother Ma's life, the bearded director seemed to be an honest person, so he shouldn't be mistreating him. However, the old man's car was in danger of being towed away at any moment. I was flustered. Okay, Brother Ma, I admit it. I'll just wear these clothes. Don't say anything else. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I'll return the clothes to you later. It'll only take about 10 minutes. Chen Guang waited for a long time. He was quite disappointed when Brother Ma only said that he wanted him to join the crew, but he didn't take out the money. But you can't let me take the initiative to ask for it. A man needs face, and a tree needs its bark. You have to give me a way out. Old Ma was indeed Old Ma. Seeing that Chen Guang didn't want to stay, he magically took out a thick stack of red notes from his drenched satchel. They were neatly stacked and even tied with white paper. At first glance, Chen Guang knew that it was 50,000 yuan. Immediately, Chen Guang rejoiced in his heart. It was worth it to run around the lake naked today. You can't really say that he's a cliché. If he was still the second generation of a rich family, tens of thousands of yuan wouldn't be a big deal to him. But now that his family is so short of money, especially with his mother's medical fees still waiting to be raised, if he can get 50,000 yuan for emergency treatment, at least it can let his family live comfortably for 3 months. He didn't think too much about it. To be honest, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's lives were worth more than 50 million yuan a year, not to mention 50,000 yuan. With their current fame and status, their annual income was more than 50 million yuan. Chen Guang wasn't a calculative person. For this kind of thing, if someone was willing to pay, it meant that they understood the ways of the world. If they didn't pay and only thanked him profusely, it couldn't be said that they were stingy. It was just that some people did things in such a way. Fortunately, this was a crew that was not short of money, and there was a smart stage director who could take out 50,000 yuan, which was exactly what Chen Guang wanted. How can I accept this? Oh. Chen Guang said politely with a smile. Old Ma thought he was really going to refuse. When he was about to stuff the money into Chen Guang's arms, he saw that Chen Guang had already stuffed 50,000 yuan into the lining of the stomach of the golden shining armor. Damn it, this is another good young man who has been poisoned by the extensive and profound Chinese black culture. Although he says no, his body is as honest as Pinocchio. But you have to know that the value of the costume you're wearing is much more than 50,000 yuan. Brother Ma, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. My car is still parked by the lake. I'm afraid that something bad will happen if I stay here for too long. I'll leave first. See you later. Chen Guang was about to slip away after saying that. Old Ma couldn't stay even if he wanted to. On the other side, Chen Guang was about to rush out of the tea house, but he was caught by Director Big Beard at the door. Of course, as the head of the crew, the director had to comfort the crew members at this time, properly arrange for some of the slightly injured people, negotiate with the staff of the scenic spot, and investigate the responsibility of the Gaily painting boat rental company. He was really busy. Even so, Director Big Beard still put aside the matter at hand and grabbed Chen Guang, who was about to slip away. Oh, little brother, the effect of wearing this costume is quite good. If you put a bun on your head, you really look like a general in our film. I see that your body is tough, and when you shouted at me when you were saving people just now, it was quite domineering. How about it? Do you want to play a small role in my film? Director Big Beard said happily. He counted again and confirmed that the most seriously injured members of the crew today were only sprained legs and bumped waists. It was said that one who survived a disaster was bound to have good fortune later, so Big Beard was in a very good mood. What a joke. In such a big accident, there were almost no casualties in the end. It was simply a miracle in the history of shipwreck accidents. It was all thanks to this brave little brother who saved people. Otherwise, if the two little sweethearts on his left and right hands were killed, the matter would immediately be 10,000 times worse. Now he wanted to pull Chen Guang into his own crew, which meant that he really wanted to help him. It could also be regarded as repaying this brother's great kindness. In addition, his appearance was really good, and there was no need to worry about his martial arts skills. If he played an unimportant role in this film, he would at most be given a few lines, which was just right. In this way, he could naturally give him some more compensation, and at the same time, he could try to pull him into this circle. It didn't matter if he didn't know how to act or didn't learn it. Anyway, I won't give you a close-up of your face. No matter how bad it is, you can still get something out of it with a few NGs. With my personal guidance, how can you not be able to film it? Apart from that, he had been bossed around by this little brother before, and he had almost tricked him into becoming a small actor under his command. He wanted to take this opportunity to give this little brat a chance to be bossed around. Otherwise, it would be hard to find a legitimate reason to take revenge. Chen Guang was not stupid. The layer of support in Big Beard's words could not be more obvious. Chen Guang could not help but feel touched. He had misunderstood the people in the entertainment industry too much in the past. With this brother's character of repaying kindness, he was definitely a good person. However, he was not in a hurry to agree to this matter. For a challenge like acting, he had no confidence at all. He was very familiar with director Big Beard. He should have seen him on TV often. He guessed that he was a famous director, and he could not destroy his signature rice bowl. Is there money for a guest role? Is it a lot? F***CK. Where's my integrity? I clearly wanted to reject him in my heart, but why did my mouth say such words? Big Beard smiled and gave Chen Guang a thumbs up. Not bad, young man. You know what to do. Of course there's money for a guest role, and it's not a small amount. The crew's budget is also very sufficient. As long as you can last more than 30 seconds of the scene, I will prepare 100,000 yuan for you. How about it? This is a big production with an investment of hundreds of millions, a big film. Oh. Oh, my uncle, this matter is settled. I'll go and move my car to a new place and look for you later. Are you going to film later? Chen Guang grinned. 30 seconds. The old man was a big shot who had lasted in the sea of moment for 20 years. Wasn't it just a film? Wasn't it just 30 seconds? 100,000 yuan. Looks like we can't film today. Everyone needs to settle down. This way, we still have about 7 to 8 scenes in Wujing, and it will probably take another month. Leave me your number, and I will call you in 2 days when it's about time. You can go back first. I'm busy here. But I, Deng Xiaojiang, am a man of my word. But as you can see, I'm also a very busy man. When I have time, I will slowly chat with you. Oh right, you don't have to rush to return this costume today. Anyway, when you come for the audition in a few days, I have arranged this role for you. It's just right. You can wear it for a few days to get used to it. Seeing that the matter was settled, Big Beard Deng's heart also felt at ease. Chen Guang smiled. He didn't disturb Big Beard anymore. He left his number and turned to walk out. Actually, with 50,000 yuan in his pocket, thinking that he could get 100,000 yuan in a few days, even if it was a little stuffy wearing this armor in the summer, his heart felt refreshed and comfortable. Turning his head to look at the painted lake, he thought to himself, when will another crew come and sink it again? On this side, when Chen Guang had just left, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage hadn't had a good rest yet, so they dragged themselves out of the special resting room to look for Chen Guang. However, when they asked Big Beard Deng, they were quite disappointed that he had already left. Jiang Yage angrily stomped her foot on Big Beard's instep. Why did you let him go? Jin Shiyue was also very unhappy, but her temper was not as bad as Jiang Yage's. She just said helplessly, we wanted to thank him properly. I just asked Sister Zhou to prepare some cash. Sigh. What should we do? Big Beard Deng was amused. Ladies, don't worry. I will let him come to the audition in a few days. If you have anything to say, it won't be too late to talk about it then. There are still many opportunities. With Big Beard Deng's life experience, it was not difficult to see that this young female star, Jiang Yage, seemed to have a different idea. He secretly felt happy for the young man, but also worried for him. If this kind of thing really led to a good relationship, it could be regarded as a good story. But looking at the young man's clothes, his financial condition seemed to be very ordinary. If he remembered correctly, there seemed to be a pinky-sized hole in the back of the young man's underwear. Although Jiang Yage was a star on the surface, her background was very shocking. Jin Shiyue was similar. This kind of thing might not be a good thing for that young man. Forget it, let's not try to figure out the world of young people. Didn't big stars marry poor boys? I'm just an old bag of bones. It's better not to get involved in such a high-end rich family story. The water is a little deep, and I can't get involved. Chapter 21. When Chen Guang returned to the parking spot in his shiny armor, the old man who had taken his things was still there. Not only that, but the people who had watched Chen Guang go into the water were almost all still there. There was even a traffic police comrade in uniform. There was no other reason. These people had witnessed how Chen Guang miraculously pulled the superstar back from the clutches of the Grim Reaper. They had also heard the old man's exaggerated description of Chen Guang's determination before he went into the water. They also knew that the silver Hyundai parked by the roadside was the hero's car. Naturally, they couldn't bear to leave. All of them wanted to see what this hero looked like and praise him. The traffic police did come twice in the middle, but everyone clearly told the traffic police the whole story. Although the law was merciless, Chen Guang was trying to save people, and he really saved them. The traffic police comrade also felt that this kind of good citizen should be encouraged. He immediately left one person behind to personally protect Chen Guang when he parked illegally, so that he could avoid the disaster of having his car towed. Of course, when Chen Guang walked over, he did not know. When he saw the traffic police, as a driver, he was basically like a mouse seeing a cat, and his heart was flustered. In the QQ group of drivers, the traffic police and transport management were basically natural enemies. Everyone's expression changed when they talked about them. They would detain your car at any time, and you would have to pay a fine of 30 or 20,000 before you could get your car back. Brother traffic police, I was trying to save people. Chen Guang walked over with a smile. The dignified second mate of the N Royal was like a student who had made a mistake. Although I used to be arrogant and cool, the traffic police were all serious law enforcement. If I was really towed away on the spot, I could use my fists to beat the person up and then drive away. However, Chen Guang considered himself a good person. He really could not do such a thing. He felt that he had broken the law and made a mistake. He could not be righteous, and he could not be arrogant. Hee, young man, you did a good job. You don't have to say much, I understand. A human life is at stake and cannot be delayed. Young man, although you parked illegally, it is pardonable. Today, I won't deduct your points, and I won't fine you. However, in the future, remember to be a good citizen who abides by the traffic rules. Of course, if you encounter an emergency like this, you can still stop like this. We all support your bravery and righteousness. When the traffic policeman saw that he had scared Chen Guang, he felt a little embarrassed and quickly explained. Chen Guang was amused. There was true love in the world. Thanks. After thanking the traffic police and taking his clothes from the old man, Chen Guang drove away calmly. Of course, he still covered half of his face with his hands the whole time. It was really like guarding against a tiger. Fortunately, there were not many people around, so Chen Guang was able to guard against them. He had done another good deed and was praised by the policeman. He was so happy. F***ck, I'm not a kid anymore. What am I showing off for? Chen Guang secretly ridiculed himself. He touched the 50,000 yuan in his arms. Life with money in your pocket is really fulfilling. Naturally, he didn't need to drive a sports car today. He even planned not to run for a few days. Although Big Beard Deng only asked him to audition, for the 100,000 yuan, he was ready to take on the challenge with all his strength. These few days, I'll make up for my acting lessons. Yes, I'll fiercely polish my acting skills. I'll use these few days to make myself a best actor. Which book should I start learning from? The Self-Cultivation of an Actor. It seems that I only know this one. I'll choose this one. When Chen Guang found this book from the bookshelf of the school library, another thought came to his mind. Strange, I seem to have forgotten something. He touched his head. Where's the hat I grabbed? Did I leave it on the set when I was changing clothes? Uncle, I'm sorry. Let the past go with the wind. If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Yage, why are you looking at this hat in a daze? Look at your blushing face. Are you having a crush on me? In the suite on the top floor of the Wellington Hotel, Jean Shuriwa looked at Jiang Yage, who was lying on the sofa and pretending to be deep in thought. From the time they came back in the afternoon until now, this little girl had been sitting on the sofa for at least 3 hours without moving. She was like a plaster statue. Sister Yu, this hat is worn by the guy who saved us. Jiang Yage said faintly. You're in love? Jean Shuriwa sat beside her and looked straight at her. Jiang Yage thought for a moment, nodded, and then shook her head. I don't know. I'm a bit too hasty. After all, I don't know him at all. But when I was in the water, I really thought so. As long as a man saved me, I'll chase him. He's not an old man. He seems to be about the same age as us. He's also very good looking. I think it's not impossible. I don't know what to do. Although I've calmed down a lot now, I still think of that person from time to time. Jiang Yage was not telling the truth. She was more thinking of the bad guy who made people blush and their hearts beat fast. How could she say it? It really couldn't be blamed on Jiang Yage. Although they debuted in the entertainment circle early, they were child stars before and had families secretly looking after them. They had never been exposed to the dirty and ugly scenes of the entertainment circle. In addition, because of their family background, they never took any roles that required them to sacrifice their bodies. Although they were famous in the entertainment circle, they had never even kissed once. Even the scene of holding hands with the opposite sex was vaguely seen when they were 12 years old. For Jiang Yage, Chen Guang's behavior at that time was too shocking. Our little Yage is finally growing up. Jin Shirue patted Jiang Yage's plump chest with a smile, and her breasts suddenly surged under her pajamas. What? Sister, aren't you only 2 months older than me? Jiang Yage rolled her eyes. Aren't you moved? Let me tell you something. Before we woke up, our breasts were touched by that bad guy for a long time. Jin Shirue spat. That's called CPR. What breast touching? Can you not make people sound so evil? Although it was CPR, it was really touched. Are you really not moved? Jiang Yage was not satisfied. Jin Shirue blushed. She suddenly got up and walked to the bedroom. I don't want to argue with you. I can't win against you. Come and video call home to tell us that you are safe. Otherwise, Grandpa and Grandma will throw Big Beard Deng into the oil pan and fry him. Jin Shirue sat down on the chair and placed her palm on the mouse. She didn't click on the video call button for a long time. She thought to herself, you're moved and you've already said it. I'm your sister. While I'm not really moved, I'll suppress that thought first. I don't want to argue with you. In the past 2 days, there was a spectacle in the Environmental Science Department of Gokyo University. Their class sweetheart, Chen Guang, seemed to be possessed. He held the book, Actor's Self-Cultivation, all day long and talked like he was possessed. He took 2 steps and began to talk in a poetic tone. Xiong Jinka slapped him on the back of the head several times and roared, "Speak human language." It didn't work. The result was that Comrade Xionger was called to the field by Chen Guang to rehearse. That's right, it was a martial arts scene. After that, Comrade Xionger stopped talking human language. He only drew small circles on the back of Chen Guang. This situation continued until a sensational news photo spread in the classroom. At this time, 2 days had passed since the shipwreck on Painting Lake. Regarding the shipwreck on Painting Lake, everyone already knew some of the details on that day. However, news always had a brewing process. Until today, more details behind the shipwreck were dug out bit by bit. The latest development today was that someone finally revealed the photo of the big hero who single-handedly rescued Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage from the lake. Unfortunately, this guy didn't seem to want to be famous. He always covered his face with a big straw hat, so no one was able to get a picture of his face. However, his bodybuilder-like body, as well as the rather shocking briefs, swept the headlines of the major news networks. There were a total of 3 photos, which seemed to be taken by 3 different phones. The most touching one was a photo of his back. What everyone paid attention to was not the guy's perfect back, but the rather embarrassing small hole on the right buttock of his underwear. The unscrupulous media actually enlarged this photo a second time. It made the originally inconspicuous small hole even more dazzling. The news title was also quite touching. Underwear Superman lives hard, but doesn't forget to do what's right. A true warrior dares to face bleak life, puts down personal awkwardness in the face of righteousness. Underwear warrior is a driver of the internet. Underwear hero's life perspective. Testing underwear savior's freestyle speed. 50 meters in 23 seconds, close to the national record. When Chen Guang saw the series of special reports on by fans' phone, he was depressed for a long time. He could only spit out 3 heart-wrenching words, F***CKU. Chapter 22. Ha 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 ha. Brother Guang, look, this bro is so miserable. Bai Fan laughed unscrupulously as he waved his phone in front of Chen Guang. He even pointed at the photo on the screen. This bro has it hard. Saving a person is fine, but he was actually photographed in such an embarrassing situation. Look at his underwear, he looks so shy. It's even a checkered underwear. Ha ha ha, and there's a hole in his butt. See, there's a hole. Chen Guang's knuckles cracked as he clenched his fist. Bai Nyangzi, who was showing off, had no idea that death was approaching him step by step. I'll strangle you to death. Chen Guang couldn't stand it anymore. He was about to strangle Bai Fan to death and dry him on top of the city gate when he unexpectedly turned his head and saw the class beauty, Sun Xiaoxuan, walking over. He placed his phone in front of Sun Xiaoxuan. Mr. Class Rep, you also saw this news, right? Say, how can there be such an unlucky person in this world? He should be a hero for saving someone, but these unscrupulous reporters reported him as gossip. So pitiful. Glancing at Bai Fan's phone, Sun Xiaoxuan saw Chen Guang's silhouette on it, along with a close-up shot of the hole on his briefs. You're the only one who's nosy. I have proper business here. Although she said so, this gentlewoman from Jiangnan couldn't help but sneak a few more glances at the photo. She secretly thought, Bai Fan is really too much. Although it's a bit pitiful for him to be photographed like this, he's still a hero who saved someone. Aren't you also making him a laughingstock? However, you have to say, his body is really good. What serious business can it be? Can it be more fun than this? Bai Fan chuckled and continued, Class Rep, look at his underwear. Tell me, what era are we in? There's actually someone wearing such tacky underwear. Ha 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 ha. The hole. The position. The hole. I can't take it anymore. I can't breathe. Bai Fan laughed exaggeratedly while casually patting Chen Guang's shoulder. His behavior was a bit pretentious, but it wasn't strange. Although Sun Xiaoxuan wasn't as dazzling as the school beauty, Wen, who often came to see Chen Guang, he still had a gentle, charming, and adorable side. Although Bai Nyangzi was a sissy, he still liked women. Although Sun Xiaoxuan didn't have any feelings for him, it was quite rare to have an opportunity like today to openly tease the class rep, so he seemed a bit too hysterical. Just as he unscrupulously patted Chen Guang's shoulder, Chen Guang's hands had already unknowingly touched the back of his neck. Sun Xiaoxuan also raised his hand, intending to slap Bai Fan's head. However, Bai Nyangzi's movement suddenly stopped, as if he remembered something. The hand that was patting Chen Guang's shoulder suddenly stopped. Chen Guang had a bad feeling in his heart. He quietly withdrew the hand that was about to choke Bai Fan's neck, waiting for what this guy was about to say next. Sure enough. Bai Fan suddenly turned his head and glared at Chen Guang. Brother Guang, if I remember correctly, don't ask me. I don't know anything. Chen Guang moved back a chair and pulled away from Bai Fan. However, it was useless. Bai Fan fiercely clapped his hands. That's right. I remember you had a pair of briefs like this. There's also a hole in your underwear. Screw your seventh aunt, why do you remember my underwear so clearly? You even remember the location of the hole in my butt. Chen Guang's face darkened. What does it have to do with me? Coincidence. This is a complete coincidence. Don't look at me like that, I'm not gay. You shut up. It's not me. Bai Fan was sprayed in the face by Chen Guang's spittle. He turned around and asked Sun Xiaoxuan, who was stunned, Class Rep, do you believe what he said? Sun Xiaoxuan's face turned even redder. He covered his face and timidly looked at Chen Guang. He then shook his head slightly. No. Pulling Bai Fan over, Chen Guang pointed at his eyes. Look at my eyes, they're so sincere. I already said it's not me. It's not me. He was about to break down. I've been studying acting for 2 whole days. I've even watched an actor's training twice. Even if my acting can't compare to a movie king, it's at least at the level of a nominated actor. Why is it so useless? Chen Guang began to doubt his life. Bai Fan's eyes followed Chen Guang's gaze and saw the enactor's training on the table. He curled his lips. Brother Guang, stop acting. You really don't have that kind of talent. I'm completely certain. It's not me. You can say whatever you want. Chen Guang's mouth twitched. Now that things had come to this, he could only use his trump card and refuse to admit it. Bai Nyangzi, don't flatter Chen Guang. It's as if you're afraid that people don't know that you two are gay friends. Did you see what was written in the news? His freestyle swimming speed almost caught up with the national record. If I remember correctly, I haven't seen Chen Guang swim in the water during his 3 years in university, right? Chen Guang, you seem to have walked in the water during the swimming class in freshman year, right? At this moment, an ambiguous voice came from behind Chen Guang and Bai Fan. F***ck off. It's none of your business. We're not familiar with you. Bai Fan turned around and glared at him. His face was full of displeasure. The one who made sarcastic remarks behind them was a big guy named Pan Jiang. This person was even sturdier than Xiong'er. He was the main small forward of the school's basketball team. Gokyo University was a large comprehensive school with tens of thousands of students. The main players of the school's basketball team were not small, but they could also be regarded as big shots. This guy had always been arrogant in class because of his little ability. With Pan Jiang's identity as the main player of the school's basketball team, he didn't lack girlfriends. When he first entered the school, he changed 3 girls in just 2 months. That was not all. Later, this grandson actually dumped another boy's childhood sweetheart. When the other boy came to reason with him, he didn't say anything and knocked him to the ground. Originally, everyone had always minded their own business. In any case, they were classmates. However, the 4 people in Chen Guang's dormitory were upright people. They couldn't bear to see this guy go too far. The 4 of them stood up for the classmate together and taught Pan Jiang a lesson. Xiong'er wasn't bragging. Although he wasn't as tall and sturdy as Pan Jiang, he was really good at fighting. He decisively beat Pan Jiang to the ground. Later, this matter became more and more serious. It almost became that the 4 people in Chen Guang's dormitory took the guy to fight against the whole school's basketball team. The school's leaders finally came out and suppressed this matter. Later, the classmate who was taken advantage of felt that he had no face to stay in this class. He transferred to another department in his 2nd year. However, the grudge between Chen Guang's dormitory and Pan Jiang was thus formed. It was just that the relationship between Chen Guang's 4 people was strong enough. Pan Jiang also didn't dare to easily provoke them. However, from time to time, he would speak sarcastically. Both sides were not polite to each other. Bai Nyangzi, are you asking for a beating? Although Pan Jiang couldn't beat Xiong'er, he was a little angry that he was shouted at by a sissy. Damn it, what? You want to fight? Bai Nyangzi was also a firecracker. He was about to hit the table and fight for real. Chen Guang reached out and pressed Bai Fan back into the chair. There's no need to argue with this kind of person. Just ignore him. Chen Guang had his own considerations. He heard that the National College Basketball League was about to start. At this time, the school basketball team's status in the school was rising. If something really happened, he was afraid that he would be at a disadvantage. Today, Pan Jiang suddenly picked a fight. Maybe he was waiting for them to accept the challenge so that the matter could be blown up. In the end, the school would definitely help him, the main force of the school team. At that time, everyone was recorded in the fight. Now that they were all juniors, if they were expelled, it would not be worth the loss. Tisk, coward. Pan Jiang saw that Chen Guang didn't fall for it. He even stopped Bai Fan and muttered. He wanted to continue to provoke Bai Fan. Chen Guang looked back at him. His eyes flashed with a dangerous light. He was a little impatient with Pan Jiang, who didn't know what was good for him. Chen Guang had never been a person who was afraid of trouble. Otherwise, when faced with Zheng He's provocation, he wouldn't have taken out his stick to kill him. Pan Jiang, do you want us to be expelled? Okay, I can fulfill your wish. Let's go out and practice alone. Chen Guang pointed at Pan Jiang's nose and said coldly. Pan Jiang was stunned. He knew that although Chen Guang's team of 4 seemed to be led by Chen Guang, the one who was the best at fighting was actually Xiong'er, who was lying on the desk asleep. He couldn't beat Xiong'er, but it didn't mean that he was afraid of Chen Guang. But he didn't know why. When he was stared at by Chen Guang, he felt a little creeped out. It seemed that if he really went out and practiced alone with Chen Guang, he would be at a big disadvantage. Xiong'er, get up and do your work. On the other side, Bai Fan had already slapped the head of Xiong'er, who was sleeping, and woke this big fool up. Xiong'er opened his eyes in a daze and raised his head. What? Bai Fan pointed at Pan Jiang, who was in a tit-for-tat with Chen Guang. This grandson is asking for a beating again. Go. Bite him. F***ck. You're asking for it. I'll beat you up. As expected of Xiong'er. F***ck, he directly went for it. He directly went for it in the classroom. He had already stepped on the desk and jumped up. No prelude, no reason, just do it. Chapter 23. Calm down. Sit down. Fortunately, Chen Guang reacted quickly. At the critical moment, he grabbed the back of Xiong'er's t-shirt from behind, pulled him back to the chair, and sat him down. When they were given demerits, the 3 of them were given minor demerits. Xiong'er was given a major demerit because he was the one who actually started the fight. Today, if Xiong'er really started the fight in public and let Pan Jiang, who had planned it beforehand, act it out, Xiong'er would definitely be expelled. Immediately, Chen Guang turned around and flicked his fingers at Bai Fan and Xiong'er's foreheads. Are you two stupid? Fighting in the classroom? Can't you see through Pan Jiang's plot? I asked him to go out and practice alone because I wanted to find a place without surveillance and break his leg so that he can't play basketball for the rest of his life. But when the time comes, as long as there is no witness or material evidence, there will be no proof. He can deny it even if he dies, but he can't do it in the classroom. Hey! Hey! Even if that was your plan, why did you say it out loud in front of everyone? Pan Jiang, who was behind them, broke out in a cold sweat. Looking at the back of Chen Guang, who was teaching Xiong'er and Bai Nyangzi a lesson, he thought to himself, you're not serious, are you? Okay, stop arguing. We are all classmates, and it's a rare fate. You will graduate next year. Can't you get along well? Sun Xiaoxuan was so angry that tears almost flowed out of his eyes. He desperately pulled Chen Guang's jacket from behind. Half of his body was hanging on Chen Guang, and the buttons of his shirt were almost torn off. Chen Guang didn't want to be fooled by Pan Jiang. He just couldn't watch Bai Nyangzi and Xiong'er act like idiots. He just glared at Pan Jiang again and planned to go back and sit down. Rip. Chen Guang's shirt was sacrificed gloriously. He suddenly burst into tears. My dear class president, it's not me who wants to fight, it's these 2 idiots. Why are you pulling at me? Do you really want to stop the fight? But I think your destructive power is the strongest. My only summer outfit is for an audition at Beardy's crew in a few days. Thinking about it again, it had been 2 whole days, and when he read his lines, it was like he was reciting a poem. When he wanted to smile, his expression was as ferocious as the door god in the countryside. It seemed like it didn't matter if he didn't go to the audition. In any case, it was hopeless. How depressing. Sorry. I'll compensate you. On the other side, Sun Xiaoxuan was very embarrassed that he had torn Chen Guang's clothes. He kept pulling at Chen Guang's body as if he wanted to put the torn cloth back together. Chen Guang calmly turned to the side to avoid Sun Xiaoxuan's perverted hands, and said, it doesn't matter. I don't really like wearing this shirt anyway. By the way, you seemed to have something to say when you came here just now. The next class is a form teaching class, and the counselor will be here soon. I heard that it's a new counselor. Class president, don't you want to tell everyone in advance? Sun Xiaoxuan was stunned and finally remembered the serious matter. He had been completely misled by Fan just now. He blushed and wanted to go to the podium, but he looked at Chen Guang with embarrassment. Don't worry about me. Go, class matters are more important. Chen Guang felt that she was not pulling at his clothes. She was simply peeling off his skin. It was better to get rid of her quickly. Sun Xiaoxuan looked at the time. Indeed, the new counselor was coming. She walked to the podium reluctantly and slammed the table. Everyone, be quiet. Be quiet. I have something very important to say. In the past 3 years, Sun Xiaoxuan had handled everything in the class in an orderly manner. She was quite prestigious in the class. After her actions, the noisy class gradually quieted down and waited for her to say something. I think everyone probably knows that Teacher Shen is not feeling well. Starting this week, she will no longer be our counselor. The school has arranged a new counselor for us. I hope everyone can cooperate with the new counselor, Teacher Zhua, just like you did with Teacher Shen, Sun Xiaoxuan said loudly. Class monitor, I heard that Teacher Zhua is a senior who just graduated. Isn't she very beautiful? Someone in the back asked loudly. In fact, this was what many boys in the class were thinking. Some well-informed people had already heard some news. It was said that the new counselor was a celebrity in the school's graduate school last year. She was quite elegant, mature, dignified, and beautiful. A few years earlier, when she was still an undergraduate, she was one of the strong competitors for the school's most beautiful girl. Someone had even secretly taken a picture of her and posted it on the internet, causing a sensation. However, because she was a low-key person, the matter gradually faded. Now, unexpectedly, this former school beauty was coming to be everyone's counselor. They couldn't help but look forward to it. Sun Xiaoxuan was a little distressed. She had wanted to say something else, but she didn't expect these people to focus on the wrong thing. Okay, everyone stop messing around. Let the class monitor finish talking. If you want to know whether the new counselor is beautiful, wait for her to come and see for yourself. Chen Guang saw that Sun Xiaoxuan was a little distressed, so he helped her maintain order. When everyone finally settled down again, Sun Xiaoxuan gave Chen Guang a grateful look and continued to say, in a week, it will be the school's annual sports meet. Everyone knows that in the past 2 years, our class has been quite weak in the school's sports meet. Everyone's enthusiasm for participating in group activities is a bit low. But this time, Teacher Zhua has just taken over our class. She hopes that we can all be more enthusiastic. Even if we don't get any results in the sports meet, at least she hopes that everyone can participate. I won't say anything about the all-round development of morality, intelligence, physique, beauty, and labor, but I hope that everyone in our class will actively sign up and strive for everyone to participate. It can also be considered as a practical support for Teacher Zhua, who has just started working, okay? As soon as Sun Xiaoxuan finished speaking, there were complaints from all over the class. For college students nowadays, the happiest thing to do every day was to go to class from time to time. After class, they would stay in the dorm to play games, chat, and watch movies and TV. Many boys who liked to play football in high school might not go to the court even once in a few years after entering college. Now that they were asked to participate in the sports meet, wasn't it asking for their lives? They were now in their 3rd year. After 2 or 3 years of lack of exercise, everyone's physical fitness had already declined greatly. If they went to compete with the freshmen, they would just be asking for trouble. Not going. It's a disgrace and a waste of time. That's right, Teacher Shen hasn't made such a request. Why does she want everyone to go to the sports meet? Isn't it enough for our class to have Pan Jiang, the representative of the school's basketball team? I don't care what you think, I won't go. The class had already begun to make noise, and Sun Xiaoxuan was so anxious that she glared at them. But she really couldn't do anything. She also knew that these people were speaking the truth. Teacher Zhuo's request was a bit too much. Sun Xiaoxuan could only turn her pleading eyes to Chen Guang. She knew that Chen Guang had a lot of influence among the boys. If Chen Guang was willing to stand up and support her at this time, at least the other 3 in his dorm would follow him. This way, at least 1/5 of the 20 boys in the class would be settled. Chen Guang was a bit helpless. He also didn't want to be in the limelight. Sports meet and whatnot were things that only children were passionate about. It was really meaningless. But when he looked at Sun Xiaoxuan's pitiful eyes, he didn't want to embarrass the delicate class monitor. His head hurt. At this time, a head popped out of the classroom door. When he saw Sun Xiaoxuan on the podium, he confirmed that he was in the right place and quickly walked up. He seemed to be a bit out of breath. I haven't been to the undergraduate teaching building for a long time. I've found the wrong place. Xiaoxuan, what's wrong? Why is everyone unwilling? What should we do? There was a gasp in the classroom. The woman who walked in was about 1.72 meters tall. She was definitely tall among women. Although she was wearing flat shoes, her tall and slender figure was perfectly accentuated under the black business suit. Her hair was braided and hung down her back, which highlighted her face even more. With just a few steps, a mature and charming aura diffused from her body, almost enveloping the entire classroom. Sun Xiaoxuan was also a beauty, but compared to this tall woman who had just walked in, she was almost completely defeated in terms of temperament. It wasn't that Sun Xiaoxuan wasn't as good-looking as her, it was purely because of the difference in age and clothing. The gap between the 2 girls, who were originally similar in appearance, had been forcibly widened. One was delicate and exquisite, the other mature and charming. For hot-blooded college students, the latter was obviously more lethal. This was Chen Guang's new tutor, teacher Zhuo Jingxi. Chapter 24. It only took a few seconds for Zhuo Jingxi to step into the classroom and for the entire classroom to fall silent. Sun Xiaoxuan didn't expect teacher Zhuo to come at such an embarrassing time. He thought that she would be sad to see her classmates like this. He pinched the corner of his shirt in annoyance. Teacher Zhuo, I'm sorry. Zhuo Jingxi was actually a complete newcomer. She was also very disappointed to see that her first job was ruined. She couldn't hide it on her face, so she patted Sun Xiaoxuan's shoulder. Xiaoxuan, it's okay. I was too impatient. You can go and rest first. I'll tell everyone about the arrangements for next week. Just pretend that I didn't mention it. Sun Xiaoxuan nodded slightly and walked to the back of the classroom with a belly full of anger. Okay, hello everyone. Let me introduce myself first. Because of Teacher Shen's illness, I temporarily took on the job of being a counselor for everyone. Of course, if I don't do a good job, I'll have to continue studying for my doctorate. Therefore, I hope that everyone will cooperate with my work this semester. I will definitely try my best to help everyone solve the difficulties in their studies. Otherwise, after Teacher Shen recovers, if I don't teach everyone well, he definitely won't let me off the hook. I won't say too much. What Xiaoxuan said was my idea. Since everyone is so reluctant, I won't force it. Zhuo Jingxi said that she wouldn't force it, but the disappointment on her face couldn't be more obvious. There's no such thing. Teacher Zhuo, just now we were all joking with the class monitor. Of course we have to participate in the sports meeting. And we have to come back with good results. Pan Jiang was the first to jump up and beat his chest loudly. Immediately, the others also jumped up enthusiastically, one after the other, excited. That's right, that's right. We were too lazy in the past 2 years. Now that Teacher Zhuo is thinking about us and letting us participate in the sports meeting, we can't be more than happy. Teacher Zhuo, I'm not bragging, but I was the sprinting prince in high school. I will definitely bring back a championship for our class. The person who said this was actually Bai Nyangzi, who was next to Chen Guang. How could Zhuo Jingxi have imagined that these people, who looked as if they were holding a knife to their necks just a moment ago, would suddenly become athletes. But when she saw the overly excited expressions of these young boys, she understood most of it. Her cheeks were slightly red, but she was also very happy. Thank you everyone, thank you everyone. Then after class, everyone fill in the registration form with Xiao Sun. We don't expect to get good grades, but we want everyone in the class to participate, okay? We will definitely be the only class in the whole school to have everyone sign up. Zhuo Jingxi's smile was like a flower. She felt that the students in her class were quite adorable. To think that she had been so worried before coming here. Although the girls in the class weren't as enthusiastic as the boys, Sun Xiaoxuan had already told the girls that they were waiting for the boys. Now that the guys had taken a stand, the girls naturally wouldn't tear down Sun Xiaoxuan and Zhuo Jingxi's stage. Qin Guang rubbed his eyebrows in distress. This was really troublesome. If the whole class wanted to go, it would be hard for him to get away with it. Zhuo Jingxi explained a lot of things, but Qin Guang didn't listen to much of it. At this time, he was still pondering over an actor's self-cultivation. At the same time, he had to worry about his white shirt, and he had to deal with Bai Fan's endless questioning. He wouldn't let go of the issue of Qin Guang's underwear. He firmly believed that underwear Superman was Qin Guang. After the entire class, Qin Guang was really busy. Finally, Zhuo Jingxi announced the end of class. Qin Guang was planning to sneak away when Sun Xiaoxuan rushed to the podium with lightning speed. He raised the registration form that he had prepared long ago and said loudly, "Everyone, come one by one. You can sign up for whatever project you want according to your own interests. However, according to the school's rules, only one person from the same class can participate in the same project. So, if you're fast, you'll get it." No one tried to sneak away. Zhuo Jingxi only used her face to conquer the male students in the class who were over-secreting testosterone. She also used Sun Xiaoxuan's connections among the girls to conquer the girls who should have seen her as an enemy. The first to jump up and sign up was, of course, Pan Jiang. Although he was a terrible person, there were indeed so many people in the class who revolved around him. He easily gathered 5 people and prepared to form a basketball team. With him as the main force of the school team, the results of the basketball team wouldn't be too bad. It was a good opportunity to be in the limelight. Pan Zhang's group of 5 were the first to sign up. They were supposed to leave the classroom, but no one knew what Pan Zhang was thinking. He actually ran back to Qin Guang and sat down. When he passed by Qin Guang's group of 4, he threw a provocative look at Bai Fan. F***ck, I want to beat him up. Bai Fan was about to go crazy again. Qin Guang slapped his forehead. He was almost speechless at Bai Fan. I say, can you stop? Are you really stupid or are you just pretending? Even if you want to beat him up, find a suitable opportunity later and do it quietly. What's the use of shouting now? Bai Fan sat on the chair angrily. His eyeballs were about to pop out. Isn't it just a basketball team? I don't know what he's so proud of. Could it be that he can enter a professional basketball team? Won't he still have to work for others after he graduates? Qin Guang couldn't be bothered to argue with him. He pretended to be reading seriously, but in fact, he was secretly planning to quietly find a chance to slip away. However, Sun Xiaoxuan was too vigilant. While teaching people how to fill out the registration form, he swept his vigilant eyes across the classroom. Everyone in the class signed up one after another. Even the other 3 people in the dorm filled out their own events. Qin Guang still didn't want to go and was ready to slip away. When he found an opportunity, he suddenly stood up and ran. Qin Guang, what event do you want to sign up for? You're the only one who hasn't signed up yet. Sun Xiaoxuan's voice sounded behind Qin Guang. Why are your eyes so sharp? Qin Guang's sneaky body stopped and he slowly turned around. So many people have signed up. I don't think I'm the only one left, right? Sun Xiaoxuan put on the airs of the class president. No, Teacher Zhua said that we have to create a magnificent feat of everyone in the class signing up. Not a single one can be left out. Class president, don't force him, okay? He's a delicate girl, how could he participate in the sports meet? What if he faints? Pan Zhang's voice rang out in an untimely manner. This fellow had waited for so long just for this opportunity. Just to find a chance to ridicule Chen Guang, this guy was willing to wait until now. He really loved him deeply. Chen Guang slowly turned around and stared at Pan Zhang. Do you think you lost face because you were scared in front of me just now? So you want to find a chance to scratch me and regain some face? To tell you the truth, it's too easy to see through the childish mentality of people like you. If you really want to make life difficult for me, I advise you to throw away the pacifier in your mouth and think about what the adult world should be like. As long as you can show your awareness, I will immediately let you understand what is called adult hatred. Right now you're just a big fool, but the level of the things inside you is too low. Chen Guang said as he pointed to his head. Pan Zhang suddenly became furious. He suddenly took a step forward, raised his big hand, and was about to push Chen Guang. At this time, Xiong Jinka and the other two had already walked to the classroom door. Seeing Pan Zhang make a move, they wanted to turn back and help, but it was too late. Just when everyone thought that Chen Guang was going to suffer, Chen Guang suddenly stretched out his hand. His palm caught Pan Zhang's finger and bent it backward. Under the pain, Pan Zhang's forward momentum suddenly stopped. Because of the pain in his finger, his body bent down and almost knelt on the ground. Let go. Let go. Pan Zhang never dreamed that Chen Guang was so strong, and his movement was so fast and fierce. He grimaced in pain for a moment. He couldn't break free, but he didn't want to give in to Chen Guang. If I want to, I can break your finger now. Chen Guang looked at Pan Zhang. Previously, because they were classmates, he had restrained himself despite his vile attitude towards Pan Zhang. But right now, he was truly enraged. You. Pan Zhang gasped, wanting to say something but not daring to say it. Chen Guang smiled. Do you want to say something like dare? Come, say it, let me hear it, and I'll let you know whether I dare or not. Even if it was a rich young master like Sheng He, Chen Guang would make a move if he said so. Personally speaking, he was not afraid of Pan Zhang. Okay, Chen Guang, Pan Zhang, both of you stop talking. We're all classmates, don't be like this. Sun Xiaoxuan began to pull Chen Guang's clothes again. Chen Guang, who was murderous just a moment ago, felt a chill on his back. For a moment, he lost all his momentum, pushed his hand forward, and let go of Pan Zhang. He had to let go, or else Sun Xiaoxuan would really peel off his skin. Pan Zhang's finger was twisted earlier, and in order to prevent his finger from breaking, he took the opportunity to retreat. So, although Chen Guang didn't use much strength, he fell on his butt. Why do you keep pulling my clothes? Can't you see that he started it? Chen Guang turned around and said to Sun Xiaoxuan in pain. His shirt might have been saved before, but this time, it was completely hopeless. Sun Xiaoxuan's face was red. I'm sorry, but you're an adult. No, Pan Zhang, I'm not saying you're immature. Sigh. I don't know what to say, but you should at least think about Teacher Zhua. She just became our class counselor, and now there's a student fighting in the class. It's not good for her. Okay. Anyway, as long as Pan Zhang doesn't come looking for a beating, I won't lower myself to his level. It's said that things don't happen more than 3 times. Today, I've tolerated him twice. If there's a next time, not even God's words will matter. Chen Guang said this to Sun Xiaoxuan, but in fact, he was saying it to Pan Zhang. Outside the door, Xiong Jinka and the other two planned to come in and help, but what happened next stunned them. Among the 4 people in the dorm, the one who hated fighting the most was indeed Chen Guang, but he wasn't this strong before. He was ruthless, but his actual fighting strength wasn't that great. Was this big brother injected with hormones today? I know you're strong, I know you're magnanimous, I know you're mature and steady, and you understand people's hearts. Then why don't you fill out this registration form? You should also be considerate of this poor class monitor and teacher Zhua, who just started working. Sun Xiaoxuan was very smart. He followed Chen Guang's words and put a registration form in front of Chen Guang. Pfft! 400 meters freestyle? Chen Guang's eyes widened. He felt like he had been tricked. What can we do? All the events, track and field, basketball, and so on, have been signed up. Swimming is the only event that no one in the class has signed up. You're the last one, so you have to help us make up for this shortcoming, right? You don't like freestyle? Okay, there's also breaststroke, butterfly, and backstroke. Which one do you want? Sun Xiaoxuan said unhappily. Chen Guang sucked in a breath of cold air. The old man was wise his whole life. Why didn't he think of this? Unlike other events, swimming required students to wear skimpy clothes and stand in public. The girls in the class definitely wouldn't like it. There didn't seem to be many boys who could swim. Even if there were some who could, they definitely wouldn't choose this event if they had other options. If he was the last one, wouldn't that be walking right into a trap? Even a wise man would make a mistake. Chapter 25. In the end, Chen Guang obediently filled up the registration form. Since it's already come to this, he couldn't act shamelessly, nor did he have any reason to force others to switch programs with him. In any case, the three inhumane fellows in the dormitory shook their heads like a rattle drum when they saw Chen Guang's pleading gaze, not to mention the others. After filling out the registration form, Chen Guang raised his head and frowned. Pan Jiang, why haven't you left yet? Come on, say some more unpleasant things. Let me have some fun. Why are you here again? Sun Xiaoxuan moved even faster this time. Before Chen Guang could do anything, she had already put her hand on his back. This made Chen Guang feel that this big sister was deliberately looking for an excuse to take advantage of him. Pan Jiang giggled. Don't look at me like that, Chen Guang. But to be honest, I really don't think you'll be able to participate in freestyle. The most important thing is to participate. The most important thing is to participate. I can't be bothered with you. Let's go. Chen Guang didn't want to waste time with this guy, so he turned around and walked out. He yelled for the other three to leave the classroom with him, lest he couldn't help but beat Pan Jiang up in the classroom later. Pan Jiang, what's wrong with you today? After Chen Guang and the others walked away, Sun Xiaoxuan looked at Pan Jiang with some displeasure. She thought this guy was so annoying. Pan Jiang deliberately put on a mysterious look and wanted to get closer to Sun Xiaoxuan. Sun Xiaoxuan quietly took a step back, putting some distance between them. What do you want to say? Hurry up and say it. In her heart, she felt that compared to Chen Guang, Pan Jiang was too terrible. Sun Xiaoxuan always knew that Chen Guang was making money from his sports car. Not only did she not look down on Chen Guang because of this, but she also felt that he was very responsible and manly. Now that she was in her third year, Sun Xiaoxuan had met more than one or two pursuers, but she had never given any face to any of them. She had been single until now. She was very introverted when it came to matters of the heart, always hiding her feelings in the bottom of her heart. But in fact, everyone in the girls' circle knew that our class leader always had some vague feelings for Chen Guang. Because of this, Sun Xiaoxuan was often teased by his female friends. However, Sun Xiaoxuan and Chen Guang didn't interact much. It was only because of Pan Jiang's incident that she had more contact with Chen Guang. The two of them didn't usually talk much. Class leader, you still don't know? There's a guy in the architecture department of our college. He's a popular swimmer in the provincial swimming team. He just got the qualification certificate of a national athlete. He's also going to participate in the 400-meter freestyle. Hee hee. Pan Jiang said smugly. He was quite well informed about this news. Sun Xiaoxuan rolled his eyes. Aren't you bored? I've already said that we're just here to participate. It's not like we're trying to get a ranking. After saying that, Sun Xiaoxuan packed her things and quickly left. She didn't want to stay with this annoying guy for another second. After walking out of the classroom, Sun Xiaoxuan saw Chen Guang and the other three turn around the corner and go downstairs. Sun Xiaoxuan sighed in her heart. Did I secretly help him change the event he signed up for? Although the ranking doesn't matter, Chen Guang is so arrogant. If he loses too much to someone else, he'll definitely be embarrassed, right? I bet 5,000 yuan that Chen Guang won't even pass the preliminaries. As for me, I'll at least lead our basketball team into the quarterfinals. Pan Zhang's haunting voice sounded behind Sun Xiaoxuan. I say, are you done? How Chen Guang performs has nothing to do with you. Sun Xiaoxuan was about to collapse. I don't care how your basketball team performs. What? You're the class leader. If you say something like that, you'll hurt the hearts of the warriors who fight for glory on the court. At this moment, Pan Jiang was on the verge of collapsing. Chen Guang was only a bystander in the tournament, but class president Sun had placed his entire heart into it. I'm a core member of the school's team, and our team's results can't be too bad. Why the hell are you treating me like this? How could he know that beauty is in the eye of the beholder? In Sun Xiaoxuan's eyes, even if Chen Guang caught a cold and had a runny nose, it would still be 100 times more handsome than him doing a slam dunk on the court. Of course, Sun Xiaoxuan also knew that what he said was a bit too much. He just coldly snorted. Fine, then I wish your basketball team a victory. But don't say something like Chen Guang can't pass the preliminaries. I don't believe it. Chen Guang will definitely pass the preliminaries. Then let's make a bet. If Chen Guang passes the preliminaries, I'll apologize to his 4 roommates and never mess with them again. What do you think? Pan Jiang had been laying the groundwork for a long time. He was waiting for this opportunity to make a bet with Sun Xiaoxuan. Sun Xiaoxuan subconsciously wanted to agree. After all, she felt that if Pan Jiang and Chen Guang's relationship continued like this, it wouldn't be good for the class. But before the words left her mouth, she paused and looked at Pan Jiang with vigilance. What if you win? What if Chen Guang doesn't perform well? Pan Jiang saw Sun Xiaoxuan's expression as if she was guarding against a thief. He felt very innocent. Can you not be like this? If I win, I just want to treat you to a meal. What do you think? Just a meal? Sun Xiaoxuan took a step back. Pan Jiang jumped. What else can I do? What else can I do? Why? Sun Xiaoxuan felt that Pan Jiang's goal couldn't be so simple. Class Rep Sun, do you really want me to say it out loud? Although I used to be a mess when it came to relationships, and everyone had a bad impression of me, I haven't had any girlfriends since last semester. I'm not that bad of a person. I want to treat you to a meal. It's just a meal. Such a simple request isn't too much, right? Pan Jiang didn't lie about this. Since the beginning of last semester, he really didn't show off his experience of changing girlfriends in front of anyone in class, but whether he really turned over a new leaf or not, perhaps only he himself knew. Sun Xiaoxuan was obviously a very soft-hearted girl. She also felt that as long as there was a chance for Chen Guang and the others to mend their relationship with Pan Jiang, it wouldn't be a big deal to have a meal with Pan Jiang even if they lost. This was also her duty as the class rep, to mediate the conflict between the classmates. In the end, she agreed to Pan Jiang's bet. She thought that passing the preliminaries shouldn't be too difficult, right? After Sun Xiaoxuan left, Pan Jiang took out his phone and prepared to make a call. Although he wasn't optimistic about Chen Guang at all, Pan Jiang still wanted to reduce the possibility of accidents to 0. On the other side, Bai Fan and the others were also very worried about Chen Guang's prospects in the swimming competition. I say, Brother Guang, are you really going to swim? Lin Jingwei was very pessimistic about Chen Guang's prospects in the sports competition. If I remember correctly, last month when I asked you if you wanted to go to the pool, you said you were a non-swimmer. Chen Guang laughed, that's just because I'm a straight person. I don't want to go to the pool with a man. Pfft. Can you not compare me with Bai Nyangzi? Lin Jingwei was angry. What do you mean? Do you think I won't strangle you to death? Bai Fan was furious. Everyone in the dorm laughed and joked around. Chen Guang's mind had also forgotten about his conflict with Pan Jiang. Pan Jiang was just a stinky piece of sh*t. There was no need to ruin his mood because of such a person. Since he had received 50,000 yuan yesterday, Chen Guang wanted to temporarily slack off for the next 2 days. He didn't want to go to the sports car again. Originally, he was supposed to go to the library to prepare for the CET exam. However, Chen Guang was a person who had lived on the N Royal for 20 years, where everyone spoke pure English. This kind of exam was a small case among small cases. In addition, he originally wanted to continue to ponder the self-cultivation of an actor, sprinting towards the bright road of becoming an actor. However, after testing his acting skills today, Chen Guang resigned himself to his fate. Although he didn't want to admit it, he really didn't have that talent. 10,000 yuan in 30 seconds seemed wonderful, but he was not born to make a living. Of course, no matter how much Bai Fan pestered him, he stubbornly refused to admit that he was a man in underwear. This kind of embarrassing thing, even if a photo was taken on the spot, Chen Guang would still throw the blame to his imaginary twin brother. Therefore, now Chen Guang realized a sad fact. If he didn't go to class, he would actually have nothing to do. Oh my God, I am the savior who has the heavenly holy grail. My life should be incomparably brilliant and glorious. How can I become an idler who has nothing to do? Squeezing the cup in his hand, Chen Guang thought to himself, Emperor of the Azure hasn't done anything for a few days. What is she busy with? Will she suddenly jump out at some inopportune time to give me a big surprise? Thinking of this, he suddenly felt his hair stand on end. For the past few days, Chen Guang almost never left the cup. He even brought it with him when he went to the toilet. He was laughed at by the other 3 people in the dormitory, but he didn't explain much and went his own way. Just as he was feeling anxious, his phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Wenwen calling. When he picked up the phone, it was Wenwen's voice. What are you busy with? Going to the library together? Io, it's Wenwen, the campus belle. Chen Guang is with us. Let me tell you something. Today, our class belle, class monitor, and Chen Guang talked a lot. We seriously suspect that the 2 of them are having an affair. Campus belle Wen, you have to hurry up. Bai Fan screamed beside Chen Guang's phone. The few people in the dormitory knew about the relationship between Chen Guang and Wenwen. Of course, no matter how Chen Guang explained it to them, this group of vulgar people couldn't understand the true friendship between him and Wenwen. In the eyes of these vulgar people, there was no such thing as true, pure friendship between a man and a woman. If there was, it was just a fake friendship with a hard shell. It was real ambiguity. Go. It's none of your business. Chen Guang couldn't be bothered to waste time with these vulgar people. He turned around and walked to the side. You guys go back, don't worry about me. You beast who only cares about the opposite sex. I wish you an early ED. The 3 of them cursed Chen Guang viciously from behind. Chen Guang turned around and spread his hands. It's not that I'm not loyal, it's because the opposite sex is too beautiful. Chapter 26. What? You're not going to the library? You want to play games? Are you crazy? Don't you want to pass level 4? Don't you want this lady's reward anymore? Wenwen was dumbfounded. She was still holding on to a new level 4 reference book that she got from God knows where. Just when she was about to give it to Chen Guang and get him to finish it within 3 days, Chen Guang was shocked. Chen Guang looked serious. Let me tell you, learning is about balancing work and rest. I've been so serious these few days. It's about time I played Dota to adjust my brain. Otherwise, I won't be able to improve my learning efficiency. Wen looked at him carefully. But why did I hear that you've been learning how to be an actor for the past 2 days? I have to say, I don't think you have the talent to be an actor. Right now, it's written all over your face. You want to play. You just want to play, and it has nothing to do with balancing work and rest. Alright. I haven't played games in a long time. My hands are itching. Just let me rest for a bit today. Chen Guang didn't want to waste his time pretending that he didn't understand English. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that there weren't many chances for him to sit in front of the computer and play games in peace. Since he was in a rare mood today, he might as well play along with his thoughts. Alright, I know you've been working hard lately. After all, this is your problem. I haven't played games in a long time. You don't have time to accompany me, so it's boring for me to go alone. Wen was tempted by Chen Guang's words. She didn't insist on Chen Guang going to the library anymore. Alright, let's go. Chen Guang laughed. Do you really think level 4 is okay? Wen asked worriedly when they were almost at the entrance of the internet cafe. Chen Guang patted his chest. Of course it's okay. I'm not bragging. Even if an international friend stood in front of me right now, I could chat with him in perfect American English. Bullsh *T. I don't care if you believe me or not. Alright, play if you want to. I'm not your mom. Hurry up, there are seats next to each other. Although Wen spoke righteously, she was even faster than Chen Guang when she entered the internet cafe. As she yelled, she tossed her ID into Chen Guang's hand and rushed towards the location that she had her eyes on. Her gaming addiction was much greater than Chen Guang's. When Chen Guang paid and sat down next to her, she had already turned on both computers. She rubbed her hands and was so excited that her face was red. Chen Guang sat down and opened the Heavenly Holy Grail, also known as the Heavenly Holy Teacup. He took a sip of water and looked at this big sister who was already in the zone. He was speechless. He couldn't believe that just 2 minutes ago, she was forcing him to go to the library with righteous words. Your style changed so quickly that I'm a little tired of understanding it. Hurry up. This lady is going to start weight training again. Wen breathed into her hands, her fighting spirit high. Weight training, Chen Guang's face darkened. Why did you find such an appropriate word again? That's right, this was the reason why Wen liked to play games with Chen Guang. Both of them liked to play Dota too, but their skill levels were like heaven and earth. It was very sad. As a man, Chen Guang was still the one lying on the ground. Chen Guang couldn't say much about Wen's real skill level. Those who played this game often would understand what kind of standard it was to have 7,000 points in a ladder solo. In another popular similar game, League of Legends, that was basically the level of the greatest king in Telecom 1. As for Chen Guang himself, he spent most of his time in solo play, going up and down, without any improvement. In League of Legends, he might be considered a beginner in the bronze group. Of course, after meeting Chen Guang, Wen basically never played solo. She always played duo with him. However, even with Chen Guang's lousy skill level, Wen was able to maintain a team ranking close to 5,000 points when playing duo with him. This was simply a miracle. Even professional players with newbies might not be able to achieve this feat. For a period of time, the two's IDs were almost legendary in the ladder group rankings. Everyone remembered these two's IDs. Once they met these two, as long as they were recognized, they would complain about Chen Guang hugging his thigh and worship Wen. The teammates who were placed on the same side as these two people had a love-hate relationship. They loved that there was a relatively strong mid-laner in their team. They could easily help their teammates establish an advantage in the early game by killing the opponent's mid-laner. Even some famous mid-laners in professional teams wouldn't fight with Wen for the mid-laner position. However, they hated that in the middle and late stages of this fast-paced, high-intensity game, the idle fish king would always drop the ball. During the crucial team battles, he would either not arrive at the scene when his teammates were almost all dead, or he would be sent back to Fountain City by the opponent on the way to the rendezvous point just when the team battle was over. Other than that, he would only remember that he forgot to use his ultimate skill after the team battle was over. Other than that, it was normal for him to be empty-handed. The payout was as regular as the clock. Chen Guang was also very bitter. I'm just a pitiful man with 1,000 to 3,000 points. Do you think it's easy for me to be forcefully brought into a 5,000-point game? If I can't keep up, then I can't keep up. I'm also working hard. As long as no one interferes, I'll only miss 2 out of 4 players. Today, Chen Guang's performance was as stable as ever. Perhaps it was because the two hadn't played for too long that the experts in the high rankings had almost forgotten the fear of Chen Guang's ID. Finally, at the 10th minute of the game, Chen Guang returned to Fountain City for the 5th time. His teammates began to realize that the situation wasn't right. He died every 2 minutes. This guy is poisonous. A quick-witted teammate immediately went to look at the results of the 2 players. His eyes were fiery and immediately saw through Chen Guang's disguise. The policeman uncle was him. He appeared again. I say, big brother, can you not be like this? If you send again, I'll report you. This was the first teammate to jump up and mock Chen Guang. Chen Guang, who had rich experience in dealing with pressure, opened the menu at lightning speed and blocked this grief-stricken young man. The other 2 people were relatively calm. They advised the 2 sides not to quarrel. The game had just begun, and they hadn't lost yet. After all, the strange combination of Chen Guang and Wen was famous. At the same time that Chen Guang paid 5 times, Wen had already suppressed the opposing midlaner by 2 levels. There was no way to relieve the fat. Chen Guang only smiled mysteriously at the 2 teammates' kind words. Brothers, I know that you guys are of high quality and a high level. But, after 10 minutes, you guys will also be scolding me together. He didn't say anything. Chen Guang didn't care what the guy who had already broken down was saying. He couldn't hear it anyway, so it didn't matter. Sure enough, after another 8 minutes, when Chen Guang came out of Fountain City for the 8th time, another guy broke down. You should leave, we can win. Chen Guang couldn't hear what this person said next. His technique of blocking his teammates was perfect. It was at least 10,000 times better than his playing skills. Wen couldn't stop laughing at the side. Her hands weren't slow either. She killed both the opposing midlaner and the other person who came to gank under the tower. You're so miserable. Wen giggled. Chen Guang was helpless. I can't help it. I haven't played for a few months. My skill level has regressed a lot. Ugh, can your level still deteriorate? Wen's level of adding insult to injury was quite high. At the 23rd minute, when the hero controlled by Chen Guang released an empty hit at the beginning of the team battle, the last guy broke down. F***ck, his voice had just started, and he didn't say anything else. This time, Chen Guang blocked him even faster. Of course, this also meant that the game between the 2 of them was basically doomed. Wen never turned on any voice chat, and she never listened to her teammates' conversations. From now on, the 5 people on their side were completely out of touch. Their headcount ratio was also behind by half. The gap in economic experience was even more obvious. We're going to lose again. Chen Guang felt wronged. Why don't you just open a SMUF account for the next round? Let's go for a 3,000-point game. Wen shook her head. I'm not going. I'm going for weight-bearing training. Chen Guang picked up the cup and brought it to his mouth. He wanted to drink some water to calm himself down. Why is my life so bitter? At this moment, something strange happened. Emperor of the Azure, who had been silent for a long time, actually appeared again. Her appearance was so sudden that Chen Guang didn't have any time to react or prepare at all. A moment ago, he was still holding the cup high, preparing to swallow the water. The next moment, he felt the world spin. When he came back to his senses, he was already above the familiar yet strange sea of clouds. Chapter 27. Hey! Great God! Why didn't you inform me in advance? I'm drinking water. I'm still outside. Little brat, Emperor of the Azure appeared in front of Chen Guang once again. She was arrogant and proud. However, before she could finish her sentence, Chen Guang's fist had already landed on her face from below. Halfway through her sentence, she stopped abruptly. Emperor of the Azure's face had changed shape. It was deflated by the punch. Immediately, her entire body flew far away. Floating in mid-air, Emperor of the Azure was completely dumbfounded. This lowly mortal, he actually dared to hit me. How dare he? She originally thought that after going through the test of the realm of transient sea, this lowly mortal must have felt the immense benefits of the heavenly Holy Grail. He would definitely worship her. Therefore, when she first appeared, she still had that arrogant attitude. However, Chen Guang jumped up fiercely. Like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, he pounced on Emperor of the Azure. He shouted, "I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. I've wanted to beat you up for a long time." At the same time, he swung his fist ferociously. It was filled with intense hatred. Of course, it was mostly due to the pleasure of revenge. It was unstoppable and had boundless strength. That's right. He was mysteriously dragged into the heavenly Holy Grail. He was mysteriously turned into some savior. Then, he experienced death for a total of 95 times in the realm of transient sea. Chen Guang was unwilling to recall the process of dying time and time again. However, it didn't mean that he could forget the pain. It was just that his mind had been tempered over and over again. He had become extraordinarily strong, so he could hide it. However, his hatred towards the Emperor of the Azure did not fade with the passing of time. He just hid it in his heart. He did not want the Emperor of the Azure to find out about it, so he deliberately did not think about it. He had waited for a long time for this day. He must catch her off guard. Sure enough, when Chen Guang deliberately didn't think about these things, the Emperor of the Azure really didn't notice the dirty things hidden in his heart. In a moment of carelessness, Chen Guang actually succeeded in his sneak attack. Ha 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 ha. Emperor of the Azure. Who asked you to be arrogant? Who asked you to be arrogant? Who asked you to force me to shoulder the responsibility? Now you know how powerful the old man is. Chen Guang was extremely pleased. With this punch, the hatred in his heart was reduced by more than half. He felt extremely satisfied. Alright, no matter what, the Emperor of the Azure and the heavenly Holy Grail had indeed changed him. Although the 20 years of experience in the Sea of Transient was painful, there was also sweetness in the bitterness. More importantly, it allowed him to change from an ordinary person to an extremely capable fighter. He was no longer ordinary. In the foreseeable future, the heavenly Holy Grail would continue to change his life. After this punch, Chen Guang felt that it was enough. He just wanted to vent a little. With this woman's temper, she would definitely retaliate fiercely. Chen Guang was on full alert, waiting for the Emperor of the Azure's revenge. Although he knew that it was useless to be on guard. He would definitely be retaliated. But it didn't matter. If he could give her a punch, his thoughts would be clear. In any case, she couldn't possibly kill him. This is just a strike of dignity that I, a mortal, am using in order to seek dignity. I was expressing my attitude, so that she wouldn't think that I was easy to bully. But after Chen Guang waited for a long time, the woman was still lying on the ground, not moving an inch. Oh no, I didn't really hit her, right? That doesn't make sense. You are a dignified god emperor, why are you pretending to be so delicate? Is she pretending? Is she waiting for me to die? After waiting for a short while, Chen Guang carefully leaned over. He opened his eyes wide and saw that it was really bad. The Emperor of the Azure was lying on the marble floor. Her eyes were rolled back, and she was still spitting saliva. 2 streams of blood flowed out of her nostrils. She looked like a seriously injured person. He placed his finger near her nostrils. Damn it. She's not breathing. Hey. Don't mess around. You can't possibly die so easily, right? You are a god emperor. Although I don't know what a god emperor looks like, just from the name, it should be very powerful, right? You can't even withstand a single blow. It doesn't make sense. Finally, after a long time, the Emperor of the Azure, who was lying on the ground like a corpse, trembled and slowly woke up. How dare you sneak attack me when I'm not paying attention? She woke up. Run. It was useless. Next, Qin Guang experienced the level of a world champion in women's singles. No, this should be called the goddess's singles. The inhumane one-on-one battle with the goddess had finally ended. Very well, Qin Guang had learned even more new things this time. At the very least, through the strange power that the goddess empress threw out from time to time, Qin Guang had actually glimpsed the tip of the iceberg of the endless divine realm that she had mentioned. According to the Emperor of the Azure, this power was called the power of rules. Of course, Qin Guang could not learn such a high-level thing, nor did he know the knack of it. However, just from the name, he knew that it was very powerful and that it would be very painful to hit him. Even though Qin Guang had used the Emperor of the Azure to truly see the spectacular and unbelievably magnificent world of the endless heavenly realm, broadening his horizons, he was still a mortal after all. Even though he had seen these things with his own eyes, he could not completely understand the huge difference between a god and a human. I really want to strangle you to death. Unfortunately, I really don't dare to. If you die, I might really be trapped in this heavenly holy grail forever. Count yourself lucky, today I will let you off the hook for disrespecting me. The Emperor of the Azure clapped her hands proudly. After stretching, she felt refreshed, and the unhappiness from being punched just now was forgotten. Why did you suddenly appear out of nowhere? Don't tell me it's just to beat me up. Qin Guang's face was swollen, and he spoke in a muffled voice. The Emperor of the Azure was shocked by Qin Guang's framing. You really are shameless and invincible. You were the one who attacked first, weren't you? Do you know that in the endless heavenly realm, disrespecting the Emperor of the gods can result in being thrown into the heavenly prison at any moment, never to be freed? Back when I was traveling in Tianji province, a hooligan took liberties with me, and one of my pursuers killed all 19 trillion gods in the entire Tianji province. Other people only spoke disrespectfully, but you knocked me out with a punch today. I only beat you up, and you still dare to be dissatisfied? Qin Guang pouted. Yo, you're so powerful, so powerful. 19 trillion gods, that's really amazing, but you were knocked out with a punch from me. You don't seem to be that powerful. You still have the cheek to say that? I've painstakingly prepared a new test world for you, and I'm so tired that my divine power is exhausted, and my whole body is weak. That's why your sneak attack was successful. You punched me the moment we met, and I still have to tolerate you. The Emperor of the Azure went berserk. Yes, but I'm still the only savior. If I die, you'll be finished with me. Qin Guang spread out his hands. I say, since you're asking me for help, your attitude should be better. Although I've boarded your pirate ship and can't get off, if you can talk to me nicely, perhaps we can still be friends. In this way, I'll be more motivated to complete the test of the heavenly holy grail, and you'll be freed earlier, right? I punched you to let you understand that although I'm a mortal, I have a temper and a temper. Emperor of the Azure, it doesn't matter how powerful you were in the heavenly realm in the past. In my opinion, the 3,000 tests of the heavenly holy grail aren't something that can be easily completed. If we're not of one mind, and you've been holding back from me, I'm afraid the difficulty of this matter will increase infinitely. It had been a long time since Qin Guang obtained the celestial Saint Grail, and this was the first time that he was trying to have a calm talk with the glazed deity emperor. This was also something that he had been thinking of for a long time, and he could finally take this opportunity to say it. This was because Chen Guang also realized that living for a long time really didn't make one smart. Until now, the Emperor of the Azure's mind seemed to be stuck in her past identity as the God Emperor. She had no interest in talking to him as an equal. This woman is actually terrifyingly naive. This can't go on. I have to let her understand that we're in a cooperative relationship now, and she has to correct her attitude. Chen Guang's words had indeed enlightened the Emperor of the Azure. She was silent for a long time. All right, we have more time today. What do you want to ask? What do you want to tell me? Hurry up and ask. There are many things that I didn't tell you previously, but you really can't blame me. The Heavenly Holy Grail's level is too low now. Every time it's activated, it consumes energy rapidly. Time is really tight. I also have my own difficulties, don't I? Alright, don't put on such an aggrieved look. Be a good girl, I promise to treat you slightly better in the future, okay? If you want to ask, hurry up and ask. Actually, I don't even know what you want to know. The Emperor of the Azure placed her hands on her hips and looked helpless. However, her attitude had indeed changed a lot from before. Although her words gave him goosebumps, Chen Guang wasn't in the mood to care about it anymore. He had too many things to ask her, so he hurriedly threw out a bunch of questions. The Emperor of the Azure answered them one by one. She was indeed very patient. Chapter 28. First of all, Emperor of the Azure said that the triggering of the realm in the cup was completely random. As long as the Heavenly Holy Grail was fully prepared and its energy was fully recovered, it would appear at any time. It would not change according to Chen Guang's own will, and it was not something that he could summon whenever he wanted to. When the Heavenly Holy Grail was triggered, it would immediately search his brain and find out what he wanted to do the most at that time. It would then immediately set it as a goal, set up a test space, and throw him in until he achieved his goal, then he would be considered to have passed the test. The formation of the realm in the cup, just as Chen Guang had guessed previously, was indeed based on the real situation in the fiberglass cup at that time. When the cup was filled with water, it would form an ocean. If the cup was filled with sand, it would form a barren world. As for the difficulty of the test, it was still at the most basic level. However, according to Emperor of the Azure, as he continued to pass the test, the Heavenly Holy Grail's realm would continue to increase, and the difficulty of the test would increase accordingly. The realm of the Heavenly Holy Grail was divided into 9 levels, known as the 9 heavens. Currently, it was the first level, the spirit-seeing sky. Chen Guang expressed, "What you said is very high and mighty, but I don't understand." Alright, I vaguely understand a little, but come to think of it, when it dragged me into the sea of moments last time, I was only thinking about learning English, right? In other words, in order to let me learn English, the Heavenly Holy Grail created such a huge sea of moments for me? And I even had to hover between life and death in there? Why didn't it just simulate a new Oriental classroom, and let me just memorize in there? Why did it have to muster so many people? Chen Guang was a little on the verge of breaking down. I only wanted to learn English, but you gave me the whole world. Emperor of the Azure chuckled, I think you understand, it's just like how people in your world write novels. The opening must be attractive and cool, and leave a strong sense of anticipation for the readers to continue reading. Our Heavenly Holy Grail also kept up with the times and incorporated this setting. Considering that it was your first test, of course we couldn't fool you. I and the Heavenly Holy Grail gave it our all, just to let you witness the power of a divine artifact. That was why we didn't increase the difficulty of the test, but prepared a complete and grand world view for you. We expended a little bit of our energy to change the easiest test in the spirit-seeing sky into the realm of the transient sea that only appears in the 8th heaven of the immortal God sky. After you completed the test, the Heavenly Holy Grail and I collapsed from exhaustion, and I couldn't even come out to talk for a long time. You also know that I have been locked up for many, many years. Actually, I really want to find someone to talk to. In order to give you the most perfect first experience, I have spent a lot of effort. How? Isn't it great? As long as you can successfully complete all the tests, you can become the true ruler of the realm of transient sea. There are so many beauties in there, and there's also your hot Captain Annie. When the time comes, you can do whatever you want to her. Other than the realm of the transient sea, there are many other similar small worlds waiting for you to explore. The Lord of the 3,000 Worlds. Just thinking about it makes one look forward to it. At that time, the number of cute girls that you can ask for will be counted in the trillions. I think I understand now. This is what it means to want to save face and suffer, right? Chen Guang rolled his eyes. I really have to thank your entire family for giving me such a profound first experience. You don't even know how scared I was living in the sea of moments, how tired and scared I was. I almost died because of you. What a cute girl, hee hee. But even if I'm the king of tentacles and my whole body is full of tiny d*CKs, I can't deal with trillions of cute girls. Can't you guys start off a little friendlier? In addition to attracting attention at the beginning of the novel, you have to pay attention to the gradual progression. Actually, Chen Guang blamed Emperor of the Azure wrongly. Even though the realm of the transient sea seemed to be a narrow escape, it wasn't difficult at all. After all, he had 100 chances of reviving. The huge realm of the transient sea helped him obtain many benefits other than English. Hey, you don't understand. These 2 days, I've been pondering over the concepts and knowledge of your world. Let me explain it to you in simpler terms. Gods and humans combine in a completely different way. To a true god, it's the exchange of feelings between husband and wife. You don't need to make love like mortals do. You can also experience extreme pleasure. To put it simply, in our God's world, this is called spiritual intercourse. Spiritual intercourse doesn't limit the number of partners. At the same time, you can have as many partners as you want. Furthermore, the more partners you have, the more pleasure you get, the more intense it is. Sigh, it's such a pity. I, Emperor of the Azure, am such a perfect woman. I've lived for countless eras, but I've never met a Prince Charming that I like. I've never experienced spiritual intercourse before. I've read about this from the little porn book that my father, the master god of chaos, kept. Emperor of the Azure said calmly. Yo, your sister. Chen Guang was impressed. Spiritual intercourse. How appropriate and pertinent. Prince Charming. Big sister, you're really good at talking. I can't even refute you. Come to think of it, the master god of chaos is such a domineering and cool existence. Why would he keep a little porn book? Why am I so curious? Why do I want to know what the master god's little porn book looks like? Dear Azure Goddess, do you have your father's little porn book with you? Can I take a look at it? Chen Guang actually spoke out. Emperor of the Azure shook her head in distress. Sigh, stop talking. I want to bring the little porn book with me so that I won't be trapped in the heavenly Holy Grail. That little porn book has a total of 100 billion pages. Every page is a very erotic and violent little world. It contains the essence of my father's divine power. It's one of the divine weapons that is as famous as the heavenly Holy Grail. The essence of divine power. Can you not say such an erotic thing so casually, you bastard? Come to think of it, it's really sad that the heavenly Holy Grail is as famous as the little porn book. Oh yes, since you appeared while I was playing the game, the content of the test must be related to the game I'm playing, right? Chen Guang asked. Emperor of the Azure nodded. Indeed, it's related to the game you're playing. It's quite interesting. I'd like to try it later. You'll know soon enough. Of course, because you overdrew a little too much energy last time, from this time onwards, your test world will return to its normal level. The sky of spirit seeing will only be on the scale of the sky of spirit seeing. Perhaps it will be slightly smaller than the true sky of spirit seeing. As the woman spoke, the color of the fluttering feather dress on her suddenly faded and became translucent again. Why did she say again? Chen Guang's eyes widened as he wondered if this woman was an exhibitionist, right? It was the same last time, and now it's happening again. Could this be the fixed benefit of being a redeemer? Come to think of it, it's not bad. Damn it. Once the test space is here, my divine power can't keep up. I've been taken advantage of by this kid again. Go for me. Emperor of the Azure took a step forward. She imitated the way Chen Guang punched her. From below, she punched Chen Guang's chin. Chen Guang, who was in a daze, was sent flying into the air. Time's up. You're the one who's exhibitionist. It's not like I made you transparent. What right do you have to hit me? Chen Guang floated in the air. His chin was crooked from the punch. Emperor of the Azure rubbed her fist. The God Emperor doesn't need to explain to a mortal like you when he does things. Can you not expose yourself when you're acting cool? This will destroy my worldview. I've already said that you guys are suffering because you want to save face. It's obviously you guys who wanted to act cool and create the instantaneous ocean. That's why your divine power can't hold on. Half of Chen Guang's body had already been sucked into the space-time tunnel. However, he still roared out those words. Baiu, Chen Guang disappeared. Chapter 29. Emperor of the Azure stomped her foot angrily. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Actually, what she was most angry about was not that he had seen her taking advantage of him, but that he had seen through the fact that she was suffering for her pride. Although she said it casually, the after effects of building a huge realm of the transient sea were actually quite serious. Under normal circumstances, as Chen Guang followed the sequence of the 9 heavens and passed through the test worlds, every test world that was built would become the energy source of the heavenly Holy Grail after Chen Guang left. This energy could slowly replenish Emperor of the Azure's depleted divine power, and it could also help the heavenly Holy Grail rise from the spirit-seeing sky to the second sky, the third sky, the cloud elephant sky and so on, all the way to the 9th sky beyond sky. However, Chen Guang's first test world was forcefully raised to the 8th sky of Immortal God, which directly caused the heavenly Holy Grail and Emperor of the Azure's divine power to be greatly depleted. Now, they were suffering the consequences of their own actions. Of course, the Emperor of the Azure was not the only one who was tricked. Roughly 30 seconds after Chen Guang appeared in the test world, he let out a heart-wrenching shriek. This is what you meant by a tiny bit of shrinkage? This is F*King confinement. At this moment, he was in an enclosed space with a radius of less than 100 meters. The space was shrouded and blocked by invisible walls. Through the walls, he could clearly see himself raising his cup and preparing to drink water. However, everything outside seemed to have been frozen and was in a state of complete stillness. The boundless sea surface of the transient sea had turned into an oval puddle. The tea leaves that had been soaking in the water had turned into wires that were scattered all over the puddle. The tea leaves that had a tip sticking out of them had become the only platform in the puddle. A computer was placed on top of the platform. Other than that, there was nothing else. Chen Guang did a mental calculation and wailed. This basically means that I've become a 1 millimeter tall miniature person and am trapped in this cup, right? Because I'm raising my cup to drink water, and the water's surface is also oval. Hey, hey, hey. Why do the wires look like they're covered in mosaics? You can't be this frugal. Where's Ivy's graphics? Alright, I've been discovered by you. There's nothing I can do even if I've shrunk to this extent. Just hold on a little longer. Emperor of the Azure's voice was heard. The last time you spoke in my mind, it was still a lossless sound quality. This time, even the sound quality of the message has become that of a phone call. There's no one else who can cut corners like you. Don't worry about the details. Hurry up and crawl in front of the computer. I have a piece of good news. You won't feel hungry, thirsty, or tired in this space. You can play the game to your heart's content. Emperor of the Azure said some good news. But if I'm locked up for too long, I'll suffer from depression. Chen Guang expressed his dissatisfaction. That won't happen. In here, you won't even feel depressed. Don't underestimate the power of the heavenly Holy Grail. Although this is a shrunken version of the trial space, it's still complete despite its small size. The purpose of this space is to allow you to reach the level of the best professional players in the world in the shortest time possible. It will eliminate all unfavorable factors and control your psychological state. Do you see that computer? Young man, go and work hard. Become the strongest Dota 2 player in history. Then, you'll pass the trial. The graphics and sound quality are all small problems. As long as the computer's gaming functions can satisfy you, it'll be fine. Why don't you use such cruel and extreme closed-door training on my business skills? I'm in need of money. Business skills? The comprehensive qualities required are too complex. You'll need to be at least level 3, Cloud Elephant Sky. Moreover, you won't be able to pass the difficulty of Cloud Elephant Sky's trial. Who asked you to be playing the game when I appeared? Young man, this is your fate. Accept it. Chen Guang was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. He weakly crawled onto the computer chair. I protest. I don't want this hardwood chair. I want Direx's genuine leather gaming chair. That will consume too much divine power. Save as much as you can. The conditions are a little harsh, but make do with it. At least you have the back of the chair. It's already good enough that the heavenly Holy Grail didn't give you a one-legged stool. It's hard to start a business. Long live the understanding. You've worked hard. I'm leaving first. Instead of arguing with me, you might as well get back to training. At this moment, Chen Guang's face was filled with tears. Chen Guang didn't know how other professional players trained, but he felt that no one in this world could train more professionally and crazily than him. He wouldn't get tired, he wouldn't feel sleepy, he didn't want to sleep, and he didn't want to give up. It was as if his hands weren't his own hands anymore, but a precise machine. His brain wasn't a normal human brain either, but a giant calculator with explosive computing speed. This time, the world in the cup gave him such an extraordinary experience. The world in the cup was indeed scary. Even if this so-called whole world was a completely enclosed small space, at least the computer in front of Chen Guang was extraordinary. Even though he knew that his opponents and teammates were illusory characters that did not exist, and could even be said to be AIs given by the system, the degree of realism of these AIs was so high that it was hard to mistake the fake for the real one. No, they were actually real. Chen Guang could freely choose the match state he wanted. Whether it was 3,000-point noobs pecking at each other, or 7,000-point pinnacle duels, he could choose anything he wanted. Of course, he could also choose his teammates to be 3,000 points, and his opponents to be 7,000 points. However, no matter how he set it up, in a real battle in the game, whether it was a strong player with a high division or a noob with a low division, they all gave him the same feeling as they did in reality. Even the hysterical arguments from the voice chat were incomparably real. That wasn't all. The matchups created by the system AIs were never the same. It was as if there were really 9 people on the other side of the network, fighting with Chen Guang in this game. No wonder the other conditions of the world in the cup were so simple and crude. It was as if the essence of the entire world in the cup was in the game on the computer in front of him. To become a top-tier player in Dota 2, there were 3 key points. First, it required unparalleled reaction speed. When you needed to make the right choice, you had to be able to make a decision in a shorter time than others, and put it into action immediately. Secondly, one needed to have a deep understanding of the game. One needed to know when to farm money, when to form a party, when to drop what kind of equipment, and how to control an area's field of vision. One needed to constantly observe the mini-map, calculate the progress of the game, observe the opponent's equipment, read the match thoroughly, figure out the opponent's next move, and figure out what kind of measures one should take in such a situation. A small decision could often decide the outcome of the entire game. The third was naturally the practice makes perfect training. Only through repetitive and boring training could one's hands become exceptionally nimble, and the heart and hands could achieve perfect coordination. Once the heart had a thought, the hand movements could immediately turn the thought into actual action. As long as one could do these 3 points well, one could become an outstanding professional player. Chen Guang's reaction speed was naturally not bad. Especially after a long period of killing in the Sea of Time, his dynamic vision and decision-making ability were top-notch. This could also be used in the game. Chen Guang was very bad at this game. At the end of the day, it was because he liked to play, but he didn't really put his heart into the game. He only used it as a way to relax his body and mind. Well, to put it bluntly, he was lazy. He was too lazy to train his basic skills, his last-hit skills, his rhythm of farming money, and so on. He was also too lazy to study the playstyle of hero. He would mess around, get into group fights, and fall behind in the game. This was a very competitive game. If he didn't put in any effort, he would be bad. This was very fair. But just because he was weak before didn't mean that Chen Guang couldn't become an expert. He had the potential in this area. The training in the World in the Cup was to squeeze out all of his potential. Chen Guang's hellish training might not be painful in the beginning, it could even be said to be a little enjoyable. It wasn't like there weren't any crazy players who would sit in front of the computer and fight for days and nights without eating or sleeping. But when Chen Guang looked at the time on the computer and realized that he had been sitting like a zombie for a full 10 days, that little bit of fun turned into torture. According to the World in the Cup's evaluation of his ability, if the world's strongest professional players were rated 100 points, then Wenwen's current level was actually as high as 88 points. In the past, Chen Guang, who was an amateur noob with 3,000 points, would only be around 30 to 40 points. But now, after 10 days of hard work, Chen Guang's level had finally risen to 60 points. This seemed like a godly improvement, but Chen Guang had been sitting in front of the computer without eating, drinking, or resting for a full 10 days. The price was too heavy. He felt like he was about to turn into a robot. I really want to rest, but I'm not tired at all. Even if I sit down and lie down, I don't do anything. My mind will run wild, but I'm not tired at all. There's no video on the computer, and I can't even go online. Other than playing games, there's really nothing else I can do. I say, Emperor of the Azure, are you sent by the heavens to punish me? I'm just a little lazy, playing a game, and you want me to play until I puke. Okay, I really want to puke. In the blink of an eye, another 20 days passed. Chen Guang had completely become a zombie, expressionless. He himself seemed to have become a computer AI, sitting in front of the computer with his back straight. He looked stiff, but his hand speed was extremely fast as he controlled his character. At this time, he was challenging a group of players with 3,000 points and 3 with 5,000 points to fight against another group of players with only 5,000 points. Both sides fought back and forth, each with their own victories and defeats. Not bad, Chen Guang could already do the same things as Wenwen. But this was not enough. The final goal of the World in the Cup was to make him the strongest Dota 2 player in history. In a long journey of 10,000 miles, the most difficult part was the last part. Chen Guang went from a player with 88 points to a player with full points. This short gap of 12 points took him 2 whole months. In these 3 months, Chen Guang went from a noob to a real Dota 2 fighting machine. With his current level, if he wanted to, he could go to any team in the world and become the main force. He could even form his own team. As long as he alone held up the backbone, the team could achieve good results. This was simply a miracle. Only Chen Guang himself could understand how torturous this seemingly short 3 months was. If it wasn't for the World in the Cup not allowing him to collapse and be depressed, he would have personally ended his life. This wasn't the usual 3 months, but 24 hours a day, without a break, without any pause. He was like Sisyphus who was punished by God. Forever, without any rest, he pushed this rock called Dota 2, climbing the seemingly endless mountain peak. It repeated endlessly, like a nightmare. Chapter 30. When the evaluation system deemed that he had finally reached the standard, Chen Guang burst into tears. His eyes rolled back, and he was about to collapse. The various negative emotions that were forcefully suppressed by the world in the cup also swarmed in at this moment. It was like an unstoppable wave that engulfed his mind in an instant. His mind immediately suffered great damage, and his pupils dilated. He was actually going to die because of the damage to his mind. This made Emperor of the Azure anxious. She quickly burned her divine power and forcibly instilled a part of her will into Chen Guang's subconscious to protect his mind. Then, she used her divine power to repair his mental injuries bit by bit. When she was done with all this, she had completely overdrawn her remaining divine power. The direct result was that her lustrous feather dress had completely disintegrated. Unfortunately, as soon as Chen Guang opened his eyes, he was thrown out of the world in the cup by Emperor of the Azure. He did not get to eat any of the delicious Emperor tofu. With a shudder, Chen Guang finally returned to the real world. He turned his head to look to his side. Wen was still staring at the screen with full attention. She was dealing with the solo hero opposite her. However, this time, her situation was a little bad. Just as she was about to kill the opposing hero solo again, two enemies suddenly jumped out from the shadows of the forest. Surrounded by three people, even someone as strong as Wen was still lying dead within 5 seconds. With the death of Wen, this game was also a lost game. Sigh, I lost again. I really lost. Wen sighed and turned her head to look at Chen Guang. There was some unwillingness in her eyes, but she did not care too much. Anyway, it was not the first time that she had lost in weight training. Chen Guang forced a smile and turned his eyes back to his screen. He looked at the time. From the time he raised the cup and prepared to drink until now, only less than 5 seconds had passed. The game isn't over yet. As Chen Guang spoke, he stretched his body slightly. Although he had a strong nausea when he looked at the game, it seemed that his self-control had improved a lot. It was not that he could not persevere. Since he had successfully passed the test of the Heavenly Holy Grail, and since he had become the strongest player in the truest sense of the word, if he did not do something in this game, he would be letting down the hellish special training that he had gone through. No matter what. He had to persevere until the end of this game. Chen Guang controlled his hero to walk out of the spring. His eyes were filled with unprecedented determination. You still have 30 seconds to resurrect. I'll lie in ambush in the middle. When you resurrect, I'll fly over immediately and do something big. 30 seconds later, Wenwen's teleportation circle lit up. The three opponents pushed the tower and leaned forward a little, planning to take the head of this person who overestimated himself and tried to save the tower. Chen Guang darted out from the shadows and controlled his hero, Enigma. He used a small skill to control one and summoned a small enigma to block the other two's movement. Then, through extremely subtle control, he dodged the opponent's non-directional control skill and released an ultimate skill to control the three of them. At the same time, Wenwen's hero, Carl, landed on the ground. It was a clean and efficient group damage combo. 3 kills. Chen Guang, whose health was low, immediately went into the jungle. He quickly killed 2 waves of monsters and took out the key item, the Blink Dagger. The 3 of them who were cursing in the voice chat earlier could not help but open their mouths wide when they heard the system voice chat boasting about pork, even though they were far away from each other. Chen Guang typed, I think we can still win. This game can still be salvaged. What do you guys think? The other 3 did not believe it. However, this was a game where people did not retreat as long as the tower did not fall. Even if they were at an extreme disadvantage, as long as the world tree was still there, why should they give up? Let's try again. A minute later, one of the party members was surrounded by 2 enemies in the jungle. Chen Guang appeared in blink and repeated the same trick. He first stunned one of them, then turned around to use his skill on the monster, summoning his underlings to block the position and save the party member. This enigma was like a completely different person. Chen Guang turned off the voice chat. It was about time to communicate with his teammates. I say, brother, you were acting before, right? You shouldn't have just given up like that, right? Alright, I was a little overboard with my words just now. Let's fight together. There's still a chance. This was how interesting the game was. As long as you could display strength that was worthy of respect, your teammates would give you enough respect. This was especially so in the police station, where the quality of the players was generally very high. Chen Guang coughed mysteriously. It was my cousin who was playing before. 5 minutes later, Chen Guang acted as bait alone. He used Highland Shadow and Enigma to block the way and gathered the 5 opponents together. Then, he used the perfect interval between attacks to last until the cooldown of Blink Dagger. Then, he used Blink Dagger to rush into the middle of the enemy's group and unleashed his ultimate skill. The 5 of them. At the same time, Wen arrived with the other 3. Chen Guang's health had dropped to single digits, but he was still not dead. His team wiped out the enemy without any losses. They had turned the tables. They had completely turned the tables. Chen Guang's previous series of actions had surpassed the classics. This was an extremely rare stroke of genius, but in the entire game, he had actually done it at least 4 times. The first time, he preserved the spark. The second time, he turned the tide. The third time, he turned the tables. The fourth time, he secured the victory. Chen Guang used these 4 godlike actions to turn the tables from a situation that was infinitely close to 0. When the enemy's base was destroyed, Wen put down her mouse and turned to look at him. After a moment of silence, she said, "Brother, you're invincible." In the game's voice chat, the other 3 were also crazily venting their emotions one after another. Some of the smarter players had already organized the video of this game and were ready to upload it to the video editor. However, Chen Guang only put down his headphones and mouse. He gave Wen a demonic smile and then turned his head. He was about to vomit and could not take it anymore. "I'm going to the toilet." After saying that, Chen Guang jumped up from his chair and went straight to the toilet. The next moment, sounds of vomiting could be heard coming from the toilet. Wen touched her face. "It said that you'll get tired of looking at the same face for a long time. Even if that's the case, brother, your reaction is a little too extreme. I'm the campus belle." Chen Guang vomited in the toilet until he was in a daze. He almost vomited all of his stomach acid. He stood up shakily and shook his head violently. Then, he went outside and washed his face with cold water for a long time before he finally calmed down. Damn it. The old man is convinced. I'm really convinced. It's useless for you to train me to be the world's strongest. I've only played for 20 minutes and I'm actually vomiting like this. What a scam. You don't care what I'm doing. You appear at any time and only detect what I want to do at that moment. So evil. Wait, toilet, it's terrifying to think about it. Damn it. What if you suddenly appear the next time I'm squatting to take a dump? Wouldn't I be trained to be the world's #1 anal prolapse king? F***ck me. No one would have thought that the ultimate Dota 2 powerhouse who had been circulating on the internet for a long time was currently worrying about his rough fate. Chapter 31. After vomiting all over the toilet, Chen Guang returned to his seat, sat down, and logged out of the game as fast as he could. I can't watch this anymore. It's toxic. What happened to you just now? It's like you're cheating. Hey, how did you do it? Wen pounced on Chen Guang, cupped his face, and looked at him from left to right. In the next second, Wen's excitement disappeared. She could see that Chen Guang's expression wasn't right. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Chen Guang had an idea and nodded. I caught a cold. You can catch a cold in this weather? Wen was shocked. I caught a fever. It's from the heat. It's uncomfortable. Chen Guang lied without hesitation. Unfortunately, his acting skills were terrible. Moreover, Wenwen knew him so well that she could see through him with just one look. Wenwen grabbed Chen Guang's face with both hands. It can't be like this. Wenwen's face was very close to Chen Guang's. As she spoke, the fragrance of orchids came out of her mouth and landed on Chen Guang's face. It was warm and moist, but also had an enchanting fragrance. Because it was summer, she was wearing loose clothes. As Wenwen leaned over, Chen Guang's little eyes unconsciously went to her collar, and he saw the two enchanting halves. Well, in fact, this kind of thing had happened hundreds of times in the past few years, if not thousands. Chen Guang said that his sexual orientation was normal, and he wouldn't have any impulses towards his brother. What he was really afraid of was that Wenwen saw through his change in the Holy Grail. This brother's insight was terrifying. Chen Guang's face twitched. Well, it's actually related to the game I was playing. Just now, as I was playing, I felt that I wasn't playing well, and I felt very unhappy. I thought, no matter what, I must play well. I'm telling you, it was as if I was possessed by the god of games. My reflexes were so quick and my controls so precise that I couldn't believe it myself. As you can see, we made a comeback. I just don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because I've exhausted too much of my mental strength. I feel nauseous, disgusted, and uncomfortable when I see the game, so. Wenwen grunted and took a step back. I've heard of this phenomenon. In the past, there was a mother who used her hands to move the car away when her child was pinned under it. In other words, when a person was forced into a desperate situation, it was possible for his adrenaline to go out of control and explode with unprecedented power. That's what I said. Even though players with 3,000 points are noobs, they can still occasionally perform amazingly. Just now, you must have lost control of your adrenaline, that's why you're so good. Hee, you've been training with me with weights, so you must be under a lot of pressure. It's been hard on you. Next time, I won't drag you into a game with 5,000 points. I'll open a new account, and let's play a lower-level fish pond together. Clearly, Wenwen had misunderstood. She thought that Chen Guang had lost control of his emotions due to his poor performance in the game, and instead went into an abnormal state of madness. After the game, he wanted to vomit, but that was also a side effect of his adrenaline overload. Chen Guang thought that her understanding was not wrong. After all, he couldn't tell her that he had been playing in the Cup realm for 3 whole months, 2,160 hours, and that it was purely the result of vomiting. Wenwen still wanted to continue and wanted to start another game, but Chen Guang really couldn't take it anymore, so he let her play on the side, and Chen Guang turned his head to read a novel. Well, actually, just looking at the computer screen was extremely harmful to him. He resisted the nausea, logged into Qidian, voted for his favorite novel, and then lay down on the chair to sleep. That author was too pitiful. All of his completed books had been blocked, and now that he was starting a new book, the author's information was only this new book, and he was doing worse than a newbie. It was really sad, and Chen Guang only voted for him because he pitied him. About an hour later, the drowsy Chen Guang was shaken awake by Wenwen. It seems like you can't take it anymore. All right, let's go back to school. Playing a game made you so exhausted. You're really something. Wenwen said as she lifted Chen Guang up and pushed him out. Wait a minute, I almost forgot, my cup. Chen Guang turned around and picked up his cup. You're really amazing. You really don't forget your cup no matter where you go. Is the beauty on it that pretty? Is there someone prettier than me? Wenwen pushed Chen Guang from behind, pretending to be jealous. Chen Guang laughed, you don't understand. Yeah, I really don't understand. Wenwen laughed. When they walked through the school gate, Chen Guang suddenly said, I'll go to the parking lot later. I want to go to the sports car tonight. Since tomorrow is the weekend, I don't mind sleeping late. What? Are you crazy? You're already so tired, and you still want to go to the sports car? Hurry up and go back and rest. Wenwen Queen was furious. She grabbed Chen Guang's ear and pushed him towards the direction of the boys' dormitory. Chen Guang's face was full of tears. I really have a cheap mouth. Can't I just send her back first, and then come out quietly? I'm not tired. I'm in such a good state that I can ascend to the heavens. I'm just puking from playing games. I want to go and drive now just to change my mood and clear my mind. Otherwise, how can I sleep tonight? However, he couldn't explain it. He could only follow Wen and walk into the boys' dormitory 7 with a bitter face. After hiding in the stairwell for a while, Chen Guang estimated that Wen had gone far away. He sneaked out of dormitory 7 and went straight to the parking lot. Tomorrow was the weekend. The school didn't have a power outage at night, and the gates weren't closed. Chen Guang planned to drive for 5 to 6 hours. I'm not lacking in money now. I'm driving for the mood, for leisure. Whistling, he got into the car. Chen Guang started the car and leisurely left the school gate. How could he know that in the dark, a girl had tears in her eyes and her voice was choked? You liar, don't be such a male chauvinist. If you're really lacking in money, you should have told me. Can you not be so stubborn to save face? You're already so tired, why do you still want to go to the sports car? Do you still see me as a brother? Wenwen's soliloquy sounded like she was crying. Chen Guang's behavior made her heart ache. If Chen Guang knew that Wen was actually hiding in the dark and feeling sad, he would definitely waste a lot of effort to think of an appropriate expression to face Wenwen's sadness. The old man really wasn't tired. He really just wanted to drive for the mood. During the day, there would be some traffic jams in Wujing City. Even an experienced driver like Chen Guang would often be stuck in the endless traffic and feel so miserable that he'd rather die. Therefore, during the day, he could only make 1 order per hour. But at night, it was different. Wujing City's road construction was in the forefront of the country. As long as the overall traffic volume was lower than the road's minimum pressure tolerance, the driver could enjoy the perfect experience that other cities could only dream of. No matter where you wanted to go, you could always find a spacious 4-lane road to get you to your destination. Therefore, at night, Chen Guang could make at least 2 orders per hour. If all the orders were short-distance orders with a low price, he could even make 3 trips per hour. His driving therapy was indeed effective. After about 3 or 4 hours, Chen Guang had made a total of 10 orders. The key was that his mind had completely forgotten the excruciating pain of playing the game. But he still didn't plan to go back. In Chen Guang's own words, the old man was so full of energy that he was about to explode. If he didn't burn a little bit, he would spontaneously combust. Usually, he didn't drive a sports car too late at night. On one hand, the school was closed, and he had classes during the day. On the other hand, it was easy for a sports car to get into trouble at night. In the group that Chen Guang was in, there were already 2 unlucky brothers who encountered robbers pretending to be passengers at night. The lucky one lost 2 empty bank cards and had around 100 yuan on him. As for the unlucky brother, about 3 months ago, Chen Guang attended his funeral. At least 300 people from the group of more than 1,000 people attended. Everyone added up to 40,000 yuan and donated it to the family of the deceased brother on the spot. It was also tragic. But now, Chen Guang was a cold-blooded second mate who had experienced cruel training in the Sea of Time. Even the second hellish test was easily completed, so the small risk of driving a sports car late at night was nothing to him. If he really encountered a robber, he could also get rid of a pest for the people. Well, let's forget the meaningless second test. In short, when it was already 2 in the morning, Chen Guang still parked the car on the side of the famous bar street of Wujing City, Jidonkyo Road. He was reading a novel on his phone while waiting for the next passenger. Chapter 32. Hello, are you at the roadside where the order is being placed? I'll come and pick you up immediately. After a while, as usual, after accepting the order, Chen Guang called the other party. Who are you? Why are you calling me so late? Don't bother me, I want to sleep. It was a drunken woman's voice on the phone. It sounded muffled, as if she was about to fall asleep in the next second. The phone was hung up, and Chen Guang was at a loss. It can't be. Could it be that I called the wrong number? It can't be. I called directly from the internet software. Can the software make a mistake? Forget it, I'll try again. He clicked on the passenger information in the driver's app and dialed the number again. It was picked up, and it was still the same voice. Don't bother me. Pa, it was hung up again. Chen Guang's face darkened, and he began to doubt his life. Could it be that I really called the wrong number? After staring for a long time, he was sure that he really didn't call the wrong number. Then the question was, what was wrong with the person on the other side? Could it be that this person made a mistake when registering an account? He really didn't want to give up this order. Up until now, his order completion rate was as high as 100%, which was not easy to maintain. As a sad person with obsessive-compulsive disorder, Chen Guang really wanted to maintain his 100% completion rate at all costs today. But in such a strange situation, after calling, the other party was not reasonable at all. It seemed that he had no choice but to give up. Helplessly, he looked at the location of the other party on the order. Yes, it was about 400 meters in front of the roadside in front of another big bar. Forget it, no matter what, I'll drive over to take a look. If I really can't find the passenger, then forget it, I'll accept my fate. He slowly started the car and drove forward. According to the positioning display, he seemed to have arrived at his destination after driving for about 400 meters. He turned his head and looked out of the car window, but there was nothing. Not far from the entrance of the bar, there were still countless men and women going in and out, but no one cared about his silver Hyundai. F***CK. What a scam. Chen Guang couldn't help cursing as he wanted to cancel the order and drive back to school. Money wasn't important. Even if his completion rate dropped from 100% to 92%, it wouldn't affect his income. However, losing the perfect data made him unhappy. He didn't need a reason to be unhappy. Before he left, he reluctantly made another call. Ding 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 ding, huh? Strangely, the phone rang not far from the car. Do, the other party hung up again. Unwilling to give up, Chen Guang dialed the number again, and it rang again. He propped himself up from the driver's seat and poked his head out of the passenger's window. To his surprise, there was a slender woman lying on the ground beside his car. Under the dim streetlight, Chen Guang couldn't see her face clearly, but her tight-fitting jeans and slim-fitting plaid shirt revealed her curvaceous figure. This woman was a little tempting. She was still holding the phone in her hand, and the phone kept ringing. She was really drunk. In a daze, she fumbled for the phone for a long time before she put it to her ear. You're so annoying. Don't let me know who you are, or I won't let you go. She hung up the phone again. 10,000 mythological beasts roared in Chen Guang's heart, and he was also speechless. This drunk woman, you have such a good figure, and you just fell asleep on the side of the road. You still won't let me go. I still don't want to let you go. Are you F***king sick? If you didn't make the order, who the hell would come? Chen Guang's finger was already placed on the cancel order. He was really a little angry. He usually didn't like to pick up drunk people, whether it was a man or a woman. As long as they were drunk, he would be annoyed. On one hand, it was a hidden danger to his safety. Drunkards could do anything, and on the other hand, they would vomit on the car. Not to mention how sour the taste was. That sour smell was not easy to wash off even if it was washed. What's more, this woman was really not a normal drunk. She was about to completely lose her subjective consciousness and become a fish with a memory of only 7 seconds. She had just made the order 3 minutes ago, and she had already F***king forgotten it completely, treating the side of the road as her own bed. With Chen Guang's rich experience, he could almost conclude that this woman would 100% vomit in his car. Well, you go somewhere cool, I won't disturb your sleep. Chen Guang's finger pressed to cancel the order, and an option popped up on the phone. When the driver refused the order, he had to find an even more useless reason from several seemingly useless options. In any case, no matter what you choose, if the transaction rate is low, your reward will still be deducted. What the F***ck, why aren't any passengers idiots? I refuse this option. Chen Guang randomly selected another option, and was about to make a final confirmation when suddenly there was a sudden noise from the passenger's side window. Io, Sister Lin really fell from the sky. This girl is so drunk, is there no one to take care of her? TSK, this body, it's really not bad. A very frivolous man's voice came from outside the window, and he sounded a little drunk. Hey! Beauty, why are you here alone? Where's your friend? Isn't he with you? Beauty! Wake up! Another middle-aged man squatted beside the girl, shouting into her ear. Get lost! Don't bother me. I want to sleep. I don't have friends, I don't F***king need friends. You guys get lost. The woman waved her arms randomly in a daze, as if she wanted to drive away these two men like flies. Yo, your temper is quite bad. You came here alone? We have a good relationship, and both of us are very helpful. How can you sleep on the side of the road? What if you catch a cold? Come, we're your friends, let's send you to rest. Small explosion? Really? What else? Brother Long, let me tell you, this kind of woman who comes to a bar to get drunk in the middle of the night, there are not many who are serious, not to mention she really got herself drunk. You tell me, a woman who can drink alone in a bar, how can she be serious? Now that she's drunk, we'll carry her to the hotel and do what we need to do. Then, we'll leave. Even if she wakes up tomorrow morning and realizes that something is wrong, she won't be able to remember what happened tonight. We just need to be careful not to leave any bodily fluids behind. Let me tell you, this isn't the first time I've done this, I know what to do. If you want to blame someone, blame her for coming here alone to drink and getting drunk. Brother Long, cherish this opportunity, this is called a Dewey marriage, it's a gift from the heavens. The frivolous young man from before continued. That's the logic, all right. Let's do it. You don't say, this little girl is really beautiful. The middle-aged man seemed to be persuaded. Chen Guang's hand froze. Originally he really didn't want to care about this drunk woman, but things had turned out like this. He had clearly heard the conversation between these two people. If he just walked away like this, he might not be able to live with his conscience. Chapter 33. He stood up abruptly, opened the door, and got out of the car. Turning to the right, he saw two men bending down to pick the woman up. Get lost. There's no need to speak nicely with such trash, so Chen Guang stomped on the two men's shoulders, sending the two men, who had just bent down and couldn't even touch the woman's shoulders, flying back. F***ck. You're asking for it. The young man named Xiao Bao rolled on the ground, straightened his body, and rushed toward Chen Guang. Scum. Who are you calling asking for it? F***ck, I heard every word you said just now. I'm going to kill you too, scum. Chen Guang could not be bothered to reason with him. He took a step forward and faced Xiao Bao. He reached out, grabbed Xiao Bao's fist, and twisted it forcefully, causing the kid to scream and turn sideways. As he turned sideways, Chen Guang kicked the kid's waist with his left leg, causing him to fall to the right and fall on his butt in the flower bed by the roadside. The middle-aged man named Brother Long stood up. He was dressed in a suit and looked very dignified, but his eyes were filled with fear when he looked at Chen Guang. To put it bluntly, he was a coward. Friend. Let's talk. Friend. Brother Long said as he wanted to retreat, but he saw Xiao Bao groaning in pain in the flower bed. He wanted to run but couldn't. Chen Guang strode forward and stood in front of Brother Long. Friend? If I really have friends like you, I'll definitely strangle him to death with my own hands. He kicked the kid's stomach, causing him to fall on his butt. Then, he curled up and covered his stomach as he rolled on the ground. F***CKU. Trash. Chen Guang spat to the side, then picked up the woman on the ground and stuffed her into the back seat. When Chen Guang was about to drive off, the middle-aged man and Xiao Bao supported each other and stood up again. They stood by the roadside and pointed at Chen Guang and shouted, "You're talking about us. Aren't you the same?" Chen Guang's face turned cold. "I'm different from you. I'm a human, and you're beasts, scum. You should be glad that I don't have a license to kill, or else I'd really kill you today. I took her to my car because she sent me an order and I wanted to take her to her destination. It was as simple as that. Get lost." After Chen Guang finished speaking, he pretended to get out of the car again. The two of them hurriedly hugged each other and ran away in fear. What a fucking piece of trash. Chen Guang started the car. He didn't think too much about it. The order that this woman sent had a destination. He didn't care too much about it. He just needed to get her there. Halfway through the car, the woman vomited in the back seat, and a pungent, sour smell filled the car. Chen Guang slammed his palm on the steering wheel. He was so angry, but there was nothing he could do. He wanted to be a good person, so he could only blame it on his bad luck. "Hey! Are you feeling better? Hey! Wake up! Hey!" Chen Guang shouted without turning his head as he drove. Gulp, gulp, gulp. After vomiting for a while, the woman actually fell asleep in the back seat. "I'm so f***ed up. Don't tell me she still won't wake up after I take her to her destination." Her destination didn't specify the district, but only Guanghua Street Section 3. What the f***ck should I do? What he feared had come true. When he reached her destination, the woman was already dead asleep. Shaking her head didn't work, and she wouldn't wake up. Chen Guang's only harvest was that he managed to see her face with the help of the headlights in the car. He inwardly cursed, "Fortunately, I managed to save you today. Tell me, how did you dare to get drunk outside a bar with such a gorgeous face?" Not to mention that Xiao Bao and Brother Long she had met earlier. If it were any other men, even if they were slightly drunk, they would definitely sit beside her and wait to be raped by her when they saw her like that and recalled the famous legend of the 9 Arches Bridge Road. The woman had shoulder-length hair. She didn't have any makeup on, but there was a soul-sucking aura in between her brows. She had an oval face, and her facial features were as exquisite as porcelain from Jingdezhen. Even Chen Guang was tempted. "You vomited in my car, so don't blame me for taking advantage of you." Chen Guang reached out and took out her phone from her pocket. That's right, Chen Guang felt that he had taken advantage of her. Now, he could only try to look through her phone's directory to see if he could help her contact a friend or family member. What a scam. Why does your phone come with a screensaver and unlock password? 45 seconds later, the phone displayed, "Sorry, you have entered the wrong password 5 times. Please try again in 5 minutes." Chen Guang threw the phone on the back seat. "Director. Can I say vulgarities? What should I do?" Standing in front of the car door, Chen Guang was in a dilemma. He couldn't leave, but he couldn't stay either. He had already sent her here. He couldn't just leave her by the roadside and run away, could he? But she didn't wake up. She was so drunk, and he couldn't contact her family. There was only one word in Chen Guang's mind. Annoying. Forget it for now. I'll clean up the mess she vomited in the car. Enduring the discomfort, Chen Guang used half a pack of toilet paper to clean up the unpleasant red and white substance near the back seat. However, he still couldn't get rid of the smell, and there was nothing he could do about it. As for the dirt on the woman's shirt, Chen Guang chose to ignore it. He wasn't familiar with her, so this was enough to help her. At that moment, she forced herself up again. F***CK. It's coming. The second wave is coming. Ah! I'm going to break down. Chen Guang hit her head with both hands. Can you vomit all at once if you want to? What I did just now was for naught. The remaining half of the toilet paper was gone. What was more frightening was that the woman was vomiting in the wrong position. In short, those things were covering her face. Chen Guang, who had been drunk before, knew that he couldn't ignore this situation. If those things blocked her windpipe, she might die. In desperation, he didn't care so much. He found a few pieces of tissue that were barely usable from the pile on the side of the road and cleaned the woman's face. He also unbuttoned the top button of her shirt and wiped the bottom of her neckline. After doing all this, Chen Guang actually felt a little exhausted. Why was a drunkard so annoying? It was because of this. It was already 3:00 in the morning. There weren't many people on Guanghua Street. There weren't many cars either. The cold wind blew. Chen Guang's head was in a mess. The old man didn't know what to do. There's a pharmacy that's open all night. Forget it, I'll be a good person until the end. After locking the car, Chen Guang went to the pharmacy to buy some hangover medicine. He didn't earn any money, and the hangover medicine cost him 50 yuan. He took out a bottle of mineral water from the trunk and patted the woman's face. Get up. It's time for hangover medicine. The woman flipped over and muttered, Why should I? Why are you looking down on me? I must prove myself. I must. Prove your sister. Get up and take your medicine. The veins on Chen Guang's temples were bulging. He really wanted to strangle her. Chapter 34. But in the end, he didn't strangle the woman to death. After forcing the hangover medicine down her throat, Chen Guang sat in the driver's seat, rolled down the window, and helplessly played with his phone. There was nothing he could do. If the woman didn't wake up, he wouldn't be able to get out of the car. Chen Guang wasn't in the mood to send someone to a random hotel. If they were to go to a proper hotel, he might be arrested by the hotel staff if he carried her in like this. If they went to a hotel that didn't require an ID, Chen Guang wouldn't be at ease, but he couldn't just leave her on the side of the road and ignore her. Other than parking the car here and waiting for her to wake up on her own, what else could he do? Although it was almost the beginning of summer, it was already past 3 in the morning, and the wind outside was still chilly. Chen Guang was a little sleepy and wanted to sleep, so he simply rolled up the window halfway, put down the backrest, and lay down. Before he closed his eyes, he turned around to look at the woman. She was still mumbling something, and her beautiful eyes were tightly closed, which made her look a little quiet and cute. Pfft! You're a good girl, why did you get so drunk for no reason? You're really lucky to meet a good person like me. After fiercely complaining, Chen Guang locked the car door, closed his eyes, and went to sleep. Tang Ying couldn't remember how much she had drunk today, nor could she remember how she got home. She only knew that she had a fierce argument with the senior doctors in the hospital, slammed the table on the spot, and then walked out of the hospital in a huff. She aimlessly walked on the street for a long time, and finally, she didn't know where she stopped. It seemed that she walked into a crowded bar. Then, she sat at the bar and ordered one glass after another. During this time, people kept coming up to talk to her, but she didn't seem to care about any of them, just drinking to drown her sorrows. When she left the bar, she seemed to have stood on the side of the road and made an online order. Then, when the cold wind blew, the alcohol suddenly rushed to her head, and the drunkenness swept through her mind. She had no recollection of what happened next. But I should have returned home, right? After all, I've already sent the order. Strange, why was the bed so hard today? The dazed Tang Ying slowly opened her eyes. After about 10 seconds of daze, she lowered her head and touched her collar. Then, she abruptly let out an ear-piercing scream. Tang Ying's scream was like a long knife piercing the night sky, echoing in the empty street. The first victim was Chen Guang, who was sleeping soundly in the car. Not only was he woken up by the ear-piercing sound, but before he could open his eyes, he felt a big palm pressing on his face. Not only that, the big palm also grabbed him forcefully, and 2 fingers fiercely poked into his nostrils, almost tearing his nose off. How could Chen Guang not know that the woman had sobered up? F***ck, if you want to sober up, then sober up. Is there a need to do this? Can't I be a good person or not? Glaring, he reached out and grabbed the woman's hand, forcefully pulling it forward to save his nostrils. Chen Guang straightened up from his seat and turned on the lights in the car. He glared at her and shouted in an even louder voice, "What are you doing? You're crazy." He was a good person to the end, but this woman was in such a state. Chen Guang didn't care that someone who had just sobered up was delirious, nor did he have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. "I'm not even close to you. I've already done my best to save you. There's no need for me to kneel down and lick your boots like a dog, even if you're a beautiful woman." After being yelled at by Chen Guang, Tang Ying was stunned at first, but then she struggled with all her might to pull her hand back from Chen Guang's grasp. She was indeed a little flustered. When she suddenly woke up, she realized that she wasn't at home, but in a completely unfamiliar car. She touched her chest and realized that one of the buttons on her collar had been unbuttoned. A small portion of her breasts was exposed, and there was a sticky feeling on her chest. With the brain circuit of a normal woman, of course she would feel that she had been molested. That was why she screamed uncontrollably. When she raised her head, she saw the unfamiliar face of Chen Guang, who had laid down the chair and was sleeping. Without any thoughts in her mind, she subconsciously reached out to grab him. This was also human nature. After being tossed around by Chen Guang, she calmed down a little after being yelled at. The first thought that popped into her mind was the frequent reports on the internet of a man raping a woman and then killing her to get rid of the evidence. Tang Ying's state of mind, coupled with the ferocious expression that Chen Guang subconsciously put on when he was in a bad mood, was really too scary. However, Tang Ying was after all a woman who had seen the world. As she quietly opened the locked car door, she turned her head to look out the window. She realized that she was in a very familiar place. It was on Guanghua Street, not far from her house. Although there were few people outside, the Skynet surveillance cameras were still glowing. She felt a little more at ease. She calculated that after she got out of the car, she only needed to run 300 to 400 meters to the side, turn into an alley next to the street, and then she would be able to rush to the entrance of her neighborhood. There were guards on duty all night there. You pervert. You'll get what you deserve. Don't you dare do anything stupid. There are surveillance cameras over there. I'm going to call the police. Tang Ying said as she quietly opened the car door. Chen Guang was so angry that he laughed. He pointed at his own face. Me? Pervert? I'll get what I deserve. Is there something wrong with your brain? Call the police? Why don't you call the police? F***ck, you sent me the order, I dragged a drunkard like you here, and you puked all over my car. I endured it all. I bought you hangover medicine, I cleaned up the mess, but I didn't F***king know where to send you. I parked the car here from 3 a.m. like an idiot, waiting for you to sober up. I waited for more than 2 hours. Look at what time it is now. It's 5 a.m. I'm king saint. Now you're telling me that I'm a pervert? You want to call the police? Chen Guang was also furious. He spoke like a machine gun, spittle flying from his mouth all over Tang Ying's face. Tang Ying was stunned by his scolding. She subconsciously thought that perhaps what Chen Guang said was true. However, a gust of wind blew in from outside, blowing against her cold chest. She looked down and saw that her 2 fair breasts were still exposed. Well, everything that Chen Guang said just now was all nonsense. Tang Ying glared at Chen Guang as if she was looking at a bandit. She calmly buttoned up her unbuttoned shirt, opened the door, got out of the car, and stood outside. She wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, she stood beside Chen Guang's driver's seat and looked at him as if she wanted to swallow him whole. It was as if she was trying to imprint his face deeply into her mind, afraid that she would forget about him later. Apart from that, she also waved her phone in front of Chen Guang as if to demonstrate her dominance. The number 110 was very eye-catching. Chen Guang was also speechless. Fine, do what you want. You think I'm a pervert who took advantage of you while you were drunk? It's fine. You can interpret it however you want. He really couldn't be bothered to tell this woman that if he hadn't saved her, she would probably have jumped off the roof of some unknown hotel. Treating my good intentions as malicious intent, this woman must be sick in the head. Chapter 35. Tang Ying was also someone with a temper. After all, she had studied abroad, and she had seen the world. Thus, she wasn't as bashful as other women. She glared at Chen Guang and continued, I'll go and have my body examined later. You better pray that you didn't do anything to me, or you can spend the rest of your life in prison. As she spoke, she did not let her guard down. On the contrary, she took a step back and was prepared to run at any moment. She was also afraid that Chen Guang would be driven into a corner, but this man might be the one who took her first time. So there's no way that Tang Ying would leave just because of fear. At least she had to remember his face, so that she could bring the police to arrest him. Yeah, not bad. Come. Come. Look at my face clearly. I won't run. Oh, you better go to the front and take a picture of my license plate number. I'm afraid you might forget it. Also, I'll tell you that I'm a third-year student at Gokyo University's Jinhuan Faculty of Environmental Science. That's good enough, right? Just in case you can't find me. I'll wait for you to call the police to arrest me. If you don't do anything wrong, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking at your door in the middle of the night. Anyway, I didn't really do anything to you. You really don't know, or are you pretending not to know? Fine, you might say that I didn't do it with real weapons, and used my hands to take advantage of you. If you want to sue me for molesting a woman, fine, go ahead. I'll be waiting. Chen Guang said as he adjusted the back of the driver's seat. He was about to leave. Tang Ying actually ran to the front of the car and took a picture of Chen Guang's license plate number. Chen Guang was furious anyway, so he said, come on, if taking a picture of the license plate number isn't enough, take a picture of my face too. You take one too. Tang Ying really took a picture. Chen Guang raised his right hand subconsciously and made a V sign. Chen Guang's momentum suddenly disappeared. He thought to himself, what kind of illness is this? I'll treat it later. Alright, I've taken a picture of the license plate number and your face. I'm leaving. Go back and think about it. Look at the online order you sent. I'm the driver who took the order. You're lucky to have met me this time, but not everyone is as kind as me. If you like to drink and humiliate yourself, then go ahead and humiliate yourself. But next time, you won't be so lucky to meet me. Goodbye. After saying this, Chen Guang started the car and left. He didn't dare to look at this woman again. He was really afraid that he wouldn't be able to control his temper and get out of the car to slap her. When Chen Guang's car was far away, Tang Ying stomped her feet angrily. Although she was still a little tipsy, she had no problem standing up and walking. Just as she was about to turn around and leave, she saw a package on the side of the road. She bent down to pick it up and was stunned. It was really a hangover medicine. He held the box and tried to walk a few steps. His lower body did not feel any discomfort. If it was a woman who had a lot of experience in that area, she might not feel anything when that kind of thing happened, but she was a real virgin. Did he really not do anything? She picked up her phone and opened the online order. The information of the order was clearly written on it. Silver Hyundai Rena, license plate number Sichuan AXXXX. Compared to the license plate number she had just taken, it was exactly the same. Tang Ying's mouth opened wide and formed an O shape. Her face suddenly turned red. I've wronged a good person. I'm so stupid. Tang Ying was stunned for a moment. She took a deep breath and raised her head. She stared blankly at the empty road. The car was long gone. She regretted it so much that she wanted to slap herself. She raised her hand for a moment, but in the end, she didn't have the courage to do so and slowly put it down. This was the biggest awkwardness in the world. The other party was indeed her great benefactor. It was not an exaggeration to thank him 1,000 times. But she, Tang Ying, felt extremely embarrassed. She could imagine the other party's indignation when he felt that he had been bitten by a dog. No wonder he was so angry just now. What should I do? He's already gone. Why am I such a terrible person? He must hate me to death, right? Tang Ying's guess was right. On the other side, Chen Guang was panting with rage as he drove. He had parked the car by the roadside for so long. If he had continued with his sports car, he could have done at least dozens of kilometers in 2 hours. Oh right, I even gave him a 50 yuan hangover medicine for free. As he drove, his phone rang. It was a familiar number. That's right. It's that crazy woman's number. Huh, now you know you're wrong, right? Ashamed, right? Regretful, right? You know you've wronged a good person, right? You want to apologize and thank me, right? Dream on. If apologies were useful, why would we need the police? Chen Guang decisively hung up the phone. He didn't want to have anything to do with that woman anymore. As for how ashamed she was, Chen Guang didn't care. You made me unhappy, so I want you to live in shame. Even if you're unhappy for a day or two, it's worth it. That's right. I'm stingy and not magnanimous. Chen Guang's mood instantly became better. He whistled and turned on the music on his left and right hand. Listening to the melodious singing of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage, he drove back to school. After the call was cut off, Tang Ying unwillingly dialed another number, but it was still hung up without hesitation. He must be furious. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ignored my call. Really, how can a man be so stingy? Tang Ying's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She felt awkward, ashamed, helpless, and a little angry. You're a man, can you not be so calculative with a little girl like me? You didn't even give me a chance to apologize. Wait, he said he was a student of Gokyo University? Fine, you're still a student, so you have the right to be a little willful. Forget it, I'll try to contact him after he calms down. He's actually a good person. A good person, even if he exploded in anger, he'll definitely forgive me later, right? With this thought in mind, Tang Ying walked into the apartment elevator. For students of Gokyo University, there were no classes the next day, and there was no electricity at night. It was like a carnival on a weekend. Chen Guang returned to school around 6 in the morning. Even at this time, the dorm room was still lit. The sound of keyboard and mouse tapping came from inside. This group of scumbags had actually been playing games all night and hadn't slept yet. Chen Guang pushed the door open and deliberately looked straight ahead. He didn't dare to look at the three's computer screens. They must be playing Dota 2. This game was toxic, and he was afraid that his stomach wouldn't be able to handle it if he watched too much. Unexpectedly, the three people's frantic keystrokes and mice stopped abruptly the moment he entered the door. The three turned their heads and looked at Chen Guang for about 5 seconds. The previously bustling dorm room suddenly became so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. There's something wrong with this guy's gaze. Something's wrong. Chen Guang jumped back. Why are you guys looking at me like that? Do you want to eat me? Brother Guang, look. Dang 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 dang. Bai Fan was the first to jump up from his chair. He formed 2 fingers into a sword and pointed it at the ceiling. He didn't even care about the game that was halfway through. Following the grandson's finger, Chen Guang turned his head and saw his dried underwear hanging on a drying rack, fluttering in the wind. The finger-sized hole was facing Chen Guang's direction. It swayed back and forth, as if mocking his desolation and desolation. Next to the underwear, there was another drying rack, and underneath it was a color-printed picture clipped in a folder. This color-printed picture was an enlarged close-up of the underwear Superman's buttocks that had been reported on the internet. Whether it was the pattern of the underwear, the style, or even the location and size of the hole, it was a perfect match. Damn it. Chen Guang would never have dreamed that these three people would be this despicable. These three grandsons had hung these two items together in order to completely choke off any chance for him to quibble. The old man was speechless. Chapter 36. The three of them let go of the outcome of the game and stood up together. Bear too was responsible for bringing up the rear and closing the door. Lin Jingwei was responsible for restraining Chen Guang. He came from the side with an obscene smile and grabbed Chen Guang's shoulder, not giving him a chance to escape. Bai Fan, on the other hand, was in charge of interrogating Chen Guang. He took down the underwear and photo that were hanging on the drying pole in the dormitory. Grabbing one in each hand, he walked over to Chen Guang. "Brother Guang, why don't you quibble again?" Fortunately, this guy didn't use his nose to smell the underwear. Otherwise, Chen Guang would definitely hang him out of the window. "Brother Guang, just admit it. Who asked you to accidentally hang your underwear outside? If we didn't compare it, we wouldn't be able to make a conclusion. But now that it's like this, do you still want to deny it?" Lin Jingwei laughed and tightened his grip on the underwear. In the face of this inhumane underwear interrogation, what could Chen Guang say? Xiong Jinka, who was behind him, had already started to take off his clothes. Obviously, this group of scumbags wanted to compare their body size so that Chen Guang would have no reason to quibble. Okay. I'll admit it, okay? Let go. Let go of me." Chen Guang struggled and broke free from Xiong Jinka, who was as strong as an ox. He then rushed forward and grabbed the hanger of his underwear from Bai Fan's hand and threw it on the bed. "I really have to give it to you guys. It's just a small matter. Is there a need to get so many people involved? That's right, I saved them. And then? Oh my God. It's really you. Brother, the report said that you performed CPR on our idol's left and right hand goddesses. How did it feel? Can you tell us about it?" "Oh my God." Xiong Jinka held his head and pretended to be in extreme pain. If it weren't for the fact that it was past 6:00 in the morning and he was afraid that his loud roar would wake up the sleeping students in the next room, he would have yelled out loud. Lin Jingwei's eyes flashed with a soul-stirring light. This fellow had completely lost his usual steadiness. He hugged Chen Guang's shoulders with both hands. "Brother. My dear brother, you are my idol. Tell me, what does it feel like? Do you know what Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's family situation is like? You actually dare. Forget it, I'm convinced, I'm really convinced." Bai Fan, on the other hand, had already started to jump up and down. He pulled out a ham sausage from somewhere and disguised it as a microphone. He then handed it to Chen Guang. "Next, our reporter will interview our underwear Superman. Did you have any wild thoughts when you were giving emergency treatment to the two female celebrities? Aren't the breasts of Jean Zhang's two young girls bouncy? Are their lips soft? Are their lips sweet or sour? Pfft. You bunch of scum. Am I that despicable?" Chen Guang thought that he could escape by saying it out, but he didn't expect this group of scum to get even more excited. It wasn't until the next room finally couldn't stand the disturbance anymore and slammed the door in protest that the other three finally stopped. "It's enough that you guys know about this. Don't spread it around. You didn't get any benefits, but a bunch of trouble. The three of you are like this. If the die-hard fans in school find out, they will run to the dormitory all day long and block the door. I won't be able to study anymore. The three of you better keep your mouths shut. Chen Guang said very seriously after the three of them settled down. He really wasn't joking. With Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's popularity, they could pull out a die-hard fan club in school with no less than 1,000 people. Thinking about that scene, it was really too scary. Although the three of them were jealous and envious, they knew that Chen Guang's words were reasonable. They all said that they would keep their mouths shut and definitely wouldn't leak anything. After that, Chen Guang took out the shiny golden armor that was hidden in the closet and gave it to the three of them to play with. He also told them that the director of the production team would ask him to go for an audition to see if he could play a small role in the movie to thank him for saving their lives. At the same time, he also explained why he had been thinking about how to be an actor these few days. Only then did the matter completely come to an end. At this time, he was also very sleepy. He promised the three of them that he would call the three of them to see the world when they went for the audition. Only then did the few animals let go of Chen Guang and let him go to bed in peace. The next day, Chen Guang slept like a log. He didn't get up until noon. The three animals were even worse than him. When he got up, his snores were still rising and falling. Obviously, after Chen Guang went to sleep, the three of them were excited for a long time. Perhaps they were excited about the opportunity to sneak into the production team and have close contact with the stars. When he went out, he transferred 40,000 out of the 50,000 he had received a few days ago to his father. After a long explanation, Chen Guang went to eat alone. Today was the weekend, so the pedestrian street at school was not as busy as before. However, there were still people coming and going. Ever since the accident at home, Chen Guang had been eating in the cafeteria for a long time. However, he had made a small fortune in the past 2 days. He still had 10,000 in his pocket, so he wanted to reward himself. He went to the fried food restaurant on the pedestrian street and ordered a meat, a vegetable, and a soup. He sat down happily and began to eat. Before he was halfway through, he met a few girls from his class who came to pick him up. Sun Xiaoxuan was walking at the front. The girls also saw Chen Guang with a few plates in front of him, but they didn't rush over. Instead, they whispered to each other. Chen Guang smiled and waved at them as a greeting. "Mr. Class Rep, your Chen Guang is over there. There's a seat right next to him. Hurry up and go." "That's right. Hurry up. I think someone is eyeing the seat next to Chen Guang. If you don't hurry up, there won't be any more seats left. Don't worry about us. We can take care of ourselves. Hurry up and pursue your happiness." Sun Xiaoxuan's face turned red from the words of these people. "What do you mean, my Chen Guang? Don't talk nonsense, okay? There's nothing going on between me and Chen Guang. There's nothing going on." A girl imitated Sun Xiaoxuan's uncertain tone and said in a weird tone, which made everyone laugh again. The girls laughed for a while. Sun Xiaoxuan was pushed and shoved by the other girls for a while, but in the end, she still moved toward Chen Guang with a red face. Halfway there, Sun Xiaoxuan turned around and glared at the girls who forcefully pushed her out. However, she still continued to walk towards Chen Guang. This sweet girl didn't mean what she said. "Did you come out to eat by yourself? Where are the three of them?" Sun Xiaoxuan sat down next to Chen Guang. With a smile, Chen Guang replied, "The three of them are still sleeping like dead pigs on the bed. By the way, class rep, I still don't know what sports event you're participating in." Sun Xiaoxuan put her hands on her knees, intertwined her fingers, and rubbed them shyly. I signed up for the women's 100-meter sprint. I actually practiced gymnastics before, but there's no gymnastics event in the school sports. Chapter 37. Hey! Don't you need to wear very little to practice gymnastics? Chen Guang looked at Sun Xiaoxuan, who was beside him. She was petite and didn't have a trace of fat on her body. She was really a good candidate for gymnastics. Of course, he was actually joking and teasing Sun Xiaoxuan. Sun Xiaoxuan's little face turned red and she shook her head like a rattle drum. No way. I used to wear training clothes that covered my whole body when I trained, so I wasn't exposed at all. I'm just joking. Look at how scared you are. Okay, I know you are shy, so I won't talk about gymnastics anymore. Anyway, do your best in sprinting. Chen Guang encouraged her. He remembered that on the way to the internet cafe with Wenwen yesterday, she seemed to have said that she also signed up for the 100-meter sprint. Thinking about it carefully, Sun Xiaoxuan was really pitiful. He hoped that she wouldn't meet Wenwen in the preliminaries. It would be best if Sun Xiaoxuan didn't enter the finals. With Miss Wen's monstrous physical strength, no matter who competed with her, they would not have a good ending. Well, do your best in swimming. If you don't enter the finals, I will. Sun Xiaoxuan stopped halfway through her sentence. Chen Guang stuffed a piece of meat into his mouth and said vaguely, "You will what?" "No. Nothing." Sun Xiaoxuan stood up awkwardly and walked to the table where the other girls were sitting. "Anyway, you must do your best. They have ordered, so I will go over now." Sun Xiaoxuan sat over there. Chen Guang scratched his head and thought, why is she acting so weird today? Didn't I say that participation in all the events is the most important thing? Why did she suddenly come over to ask me to do my best? She also looks like she wants to say something but is hesitant. Forget it, if she knows that I am the underwear Superman who saved Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage, I am afraid that her confidence in me will explode. Chen Guang almost slapped himself. Oh no, why did I call myself the underwear Superman? Could it be that deep in my heart, I've already tacitly accepted that scary nickname? No. So terrible, so terrible. Quickly eat this thought. After eating a few mouthfuls of rice, Chen Guang got up and said goodbye to the girls, then hurried away. After Chen Guang left, one of the girls asked Sun Xiaoxuan, "Aren't you going to tell him about your bet with Pan Jiang?" Sun Xiaoxuan shook his head. "No, I don't want to give him too much pressure. Besides, it's useless even if I say it, right? I heard that Pan Jiang treated a few members of the school's swimming team to dinner last night. When they came back, they had their arms around each other's shoulders. I suspect that Pan Jiang is plotting something," said a well-informed girl. Sun Xiaoxuan's heart tightened, but he said, "It's fine, it's fine. It doesn't matter if we lose. It's not like I'll die if I have a meal with Pan Jiang. At most, you guys can come with me. Eat him until he's poor." You are just being nice. Pan Jiang is not a good person. You must be careful. The girl's eyes were sparkling. Chen Guang and Pan Jiang were different in the eyes of the girls in the class. If not, those girls would not push Sun Xiaoxuan to Chen Guang. Of course, everyone knew that the class president had feelings for Chen Guang. But it was a pity that Sun Xiaoxuan had a thin face, while Chen Guang was a blockhead. They're about to graduate, but there's still no movement from them. No one noticed that Pan Jiang, who happened to pass by the second floor opposite the pedestrian walkway, saw Sun Xiaoxuan sitting beside Chen Guang. Pan Jiang was so jealous when he saw Sun Xiaoxuan's shy look. "I did not want to do that. Class president, you forced me to do this." Pan Jiang's eyes were flashing dangerously. He seems to have made a big decision. Dong Xuebing took out his phone and called the swimmer from the architecture faculty. "Brother Dong, how is it going? Are the groups for the preliminaries ready?" Pan Jiang asked. Dong Xuebing replied over the phone. "Don't worry, Pan Jiang. No matter which group we are going to be in, we will still be in the finals. Aside from me, the other two juniors that are only weaker than me will be in my group. I guarantee that we'll be able to annihilate that Chen Guang you're talking about. There are only 3 spots in each group. If the 3 of us are in that group, the rest will not stand a chance. But you have to remember what you said. After this is done, you have to prepare 6,000 yuan for me. I almost spat all over the coach's face because of your under-the-table operation. Pan Jiang laughed. Brother Dong, I am relieved to hear you say this. If this is settled, you will get a lot of benefits. If there is a chance, let's go karaoke together. I know there is a good karaoke venue in the city center. You can invite those 2 students and have fun together. That will be great. When you are free, come and watch us live. We will show you what it means to crush them. Brother Dong is the swimmer from the architecture faculty. Pan Jiang had asked him to help him with this small matter, and he will get lots of benefits. That's why he agreed immediately. To Dong Xuebing, this is too easy. Swimming is a competition of strength. If you are fast, you will be fast. If you are slow, you will be slow. Unlike other sports that competed on speed, there were very few coincidences in swimming. What mattered was the absolute difference in strength. The strong and the weak were clearly distinguished. Even if there was only a slight difference, it would be extremely difficult for the weak to counterattack. That was why in the Olympic Games, there would often be dominating athletes sweeping away several gold medals. For example, in the past, Thorpe and Phelps dominated almost all the competitions when they were at their peak. Without long-term professional training, ordinary people will never be able to compete with professional swimmers. That's why Brother Dong is so confident and dares to pull the other 2 swimmers from the school's swimming team into the same group as him and Chen Guang. But Chen Guang does not care about what Pan Jiang did or what Sun Xiaoxuan is worried about. What really makes him restless is another matter. There were still 6 days until the start of the sports meet. During those 5 days, Chen Guang was on tenterhooks with every step he took. Especially when he went to the toilet, he was even more nervous, as if he was walking on thin ice. Relax. Relax. Don't think that you are taking a dump. That's right. I am acting in a movie. I am reading books. I am learning how to do business. I want to learn how to make money. I want to act in a movie. I am really not thinking about how to take a dump. That's right. This is what Dong Xuebing is afraid of. Chen Guang has deeply understood how unreasonable the Heavenly Holy Grail and the Emperor of the Azure are. The trigger condition for the world in a cup is exactly what he was thinking about. The last time was when he was playing Dota 2. Although he had trained to become the strongest player in the world, it was useless. At least there was no harm in it. Chen Guang is afraid that if he is thinking about taking a dump, sleeping in, masturbating, and so on, the test of the world in a cup appears. That would be a disaster like the end of the world. Therefore, when Chen Guang deeply understood the danger, he decided to be a positive, optimistic, and healthy person from today onwards. From the moment he opened his eyes every morning, he would hold a book called Misleading the Students. No, it should be a book that uses simple and easy to understand language to explain the profound principles of business. It is called Chicken Soup for the Soul, or simply Soup Soup. He read it with relish. When he arrived at the classroom, Chen Guang changed from his usual behavior of fishing for 3 days and sifting nets for 2 days. He was especially serious when he listened to the lecture, nearly blinding the eyes of his 3 roommates. It was so much so that Chen Guang even took out the foundation of film and television performance after class. Although he knew that it was useless, he couldn't think of anything more meaningful. After returning to the dormitory, Chen Guang also focused on the 3 important things in life. When he is tired, he will go out for a race car and take a short break. He kept himself in these 4 states. Then, when the realm in the cup appeared again, the best outcome would be to force the Holy Grail to give him a difficult business training, or a proper bookworm training. At the very least, he would be able to teach him the basics of acting, or at the very least, he would be able to train him to be a racing god. Anything is fine, just don't give me those weird tests. The old man can't take it anymore. No, next time, I must ask the Emperor of the Azure clearly. No matter what, I have to get her to give me some specific hints before it appears. Otherwise, it will be too torturous. For example, if I know in advance that the world in a cup is coming, I can drag someone out to fight. That way, when the world in a cup appears, I can be sent to some combat training ground and become a boxing champion in minutes. Just thinking about it makes me feel good. Chen Guang secretly gritted his teeth. He is really afraid that he can't take it anymore. Under such intense and painful psychological torture, time flew. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the school sports competition to officially start. Chapter 38. Sure enough, everyone in Chen Guang's class signed up for the sports meet. The news spread throughout the school before the sports meet officially started. Even the leaders of the school attached great importance to it. After confirming that everyone in the class signed up for the sports meet voluntarily, the new counselor, Zhuo Jingxi, got the commendation she wanted. The whole class also got the title of Outstanding Group of the Year. Zhuo Jingxi was overjoyed. She thought to herself that she had finally taken the first step to becoming an outstanding administrator in the school. She then announced to the class that after the sports meet, she would bring the whole class out for a feast. The whole class cheered again. Well, Chen Guang didn't care about all this. He was standing awkwardly in a corner of the swimming pool. Because everyone in the class signed up for their own events, many of them had competitions at the same time. Bai Fan and the other two bastards were not in the swimming pool. Only Chen Guang was left alone in the swimming pool. If he was really all alone, he wouldn't have felt so embarrassed. But for some reason, Sun Xiaoxuan had brought a few girls with him. The track and field event was tomorrow, and Sun Xiaoxuan and the others had nothing to do today. But why are you all here to see me? It's already embarrassing to wear such tight swimming trunks. If there are no acquaintances, I can just close my eyes and pretend that no one saw me. But your eyes are wide open like they want to swallow me. It's like a bayonet trying to cut off my flesh. The old man was very embarrassed. At this moment, a few people walked in from outside. They looked around at the entrance of the swimming pool for a while, and then went straight to Sun Xiaoxuan and the others. It was Pan Jiang. He had just led a few members of the basketball team to easily sweep their opponents in the qualifiers, and then he rushed over here. Although Pan Jiang didn't want to admit it, he knew that Sun Xiaoxuan would definitely come to the swimming pool to watch Chen Guang's competition. Therefore, Pan Jiang decided to keep an eye on Chen Guang. Not only that, but he will also stand beside Sun Xiaoxuan. After Chen Guang is tricked by Brother Dong and the other two, Pan Jiang will humiliate Chen Guang in front of Sun Xiaoxuan so that Chen Guang won't have the qualifications to be arrogant in the future. The most important thing was to settle the dinner with Sun Xiaoxuan on the spot. That's right, 2 days ago, Pan Jiang had already booked a private room at the Elegant Pavilion, the most high-end private restaurant outside the school. In this Qingye Pavilion, a simple meal for 2 or 3 people would cost at least a few thousand yuan. Seats had to be booked in advance. If they were late, even if they had the money, they wouldn't be able to get a seat. For the sake of this meal, Pan Jiang could be said to have spared no expense. The total expenses had already exceeded 10,000 yuan. Class monitor, you guys are here too. Just now, our basketball team swept the opponents 83-46. Class president, you should also commend us. You only have Chen Guang in your eyes, and it makes us feel very disappointed. Pan Jiang walked to the side of Sun Xiaoxuan and the other girls and pretended to meet them by chance. He smiled sourly and tried to get close to them. Sun Xiaoxuan and the other girls moved aside to keep a distance from Pan Jiang. Then, Sun Xiaoxuan said, "Then, I'll congratulate you guys first. I hope our basketball team can continue to work hard and achieve good results. Go for it." Sun Xiaoxuan's words were very polite, but Pan Jiang was already mentally prepared. He didn't say anything else. Instead, he stood at the side with a smile and looked at the direction of the swimming pool. His expression was full of pride. Just now, he had already made eye contact with the athletic student from the architecture department. The athletic student gave him a victory sign. On the other side, Chen Guang was preparing to take off his jacket to warm up. When he looked up and saw Pan Jiang, he frowned slightly. What is this bastard doing here? At this time, Chen Guang turned his gaze and saw Pan Jiang giving him a look. Following Pan Jiang's gaze, Chen Guang looked to the side and found that in another direction, there were 3 people gathered together to warm up. Unlike the other contestants, these 3 people's warm-up movements were exactly the same. They looked very professional. In addition, the 3 people's muscle lines were completely different from ordinary swimming enthusiasts. Chen Guang's eyebrows tightened. The ratio of the 3 people's arm spans to their height was obviously much larger than ordinary people. Their body shapes were definitely not something that ordinary sports enthusiasts could train. Combined with their warm-up movements, the identity of the 3 people was obvious. They were definitely semi-professional athletes in the school's swimming team. Especially the tallest person among them. His arm span was far longer than ordinary people, and the muscles on his back were unusually strong. As he raised his arms, the obvious muscle fiber lines on the back of his waist could be seen. Is there a ghost? Chen Guang wasn't stupid. Pan Jiang wouldn't give these 3 people a wink for no reason. There must be a trap here. At this time, the swimming pool's broadcast began to announce the number of Chen Guang's group, reminding them to warm up and prepare for the competition. As expected, after the 3 people heard the broadcast, they all took a step forward to the waiting area to continue warming up. As Chen Guang walked to the waiting area, he glanced in Pan Jiang's direction again. This guy was staring at him. Their eyes met, and Pan Jiang finally tore off his disguise. He grinned sinisterly and proudly raised his eyebrows at Chen Guang. Chen Guang sneered. This is interesting. He used his connections to arrange these 3 majors into the same group as me. Does he want me to fail the preliminaries? Chen Guang looked to the side again. Sun Xiaoxuan was looking at him with a worried face. Thinking of the day when Sun Xiaoxuan wanted to say something, Chen Guang subconsciously felt that this matter wasn't that simple. It was most likely related to Sun Xiaoxuan. Hey! You're Chen Guang from the Environmental Science Department, right? Just as Chen Guang was about to take off his jacket, the strongest player suddenly said to him. Chen Guang had already guessed that he was related to Pan Jiang, so he wasn't surprised to be called by his name. He just glanced at him casually. I'm Chen Guang. Which Gardala did you jump out from? You. That person was obviously a hot-tempered person. He was angry. Chen Guang went tit for tat. Is there something wrong with your brain? I don't know you at all. Don't talk back and forth. Let me give you a piece of advice. Be careful of your mouth. Chen Guang had always been like this. If others respected him, he would respect them tenfold. This bastard had obviously received benefits from Pan Jiang and brought 2 other semi-professional players to mess with him. It would be strange if he had a good attitude. The other 2 players were about to approach Chen Guang. Chen Guang was amused. Come. Come. Do you want to fight? I'll keep you company. My hands are itching. Come back. The strongest player from the school team said heavily from behind, don't be fooled by him. After all, the 3 of us are on the school team. If we fight with him in this kind of trash competition, we'll all be disqualified. It'll be a big loss. Hey. Chen Guang, I'll let you drag us around for a while. True ability doesn't come from words. Later in the competition, I hope you don't get tricked by us twice. Otherwise, you'll be embarrassed. Chen Guang curled his lips. Did I care about you guys? Are you really stupid or are you pretending to be? Didn't you pick a fight with me first? Aren't you bored? When it came to fighting, Chen Guang was not afraid of them. When it came to talking, Chen Guang beat the 3 of them. The 3 of them wanted to provoke Chen Guang before the competition and humiliate him. Instead, they were asking to be humiliated. I can't be bothered with you guys. Without waiting for them to speak again, Chen Guang said. He took off his jacket and began to warm up. The three of them were also angry. However, Chen Guang had already made it clear that he did not want to talk to them. It was not good for them to continue pestering him. They could only secretly swear that they would teach him a lesson later. Although there were not many people in the swimming pool, there were still thousands of people in the swimming pool. Originally, Chen Guang was not used to wearing swimming trunks in front of so many people. However, after being provoked by the three of them, the anger in his heart rose. Since you guys were called by Pan Jiang to pick a fight, I'll teach you guys a lesson later. With this thought in mind, he took off his clothes quickly. When Chen Guang tossed his sportswear and pants to the back, a series of gasps resounded from the spectator stands. Especially the three school swimming teams, they were all dumbfounded. Was this guy pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Chapter 39. Chen Guang wasn't bothered by those three's gazes, but everyone was looking at him as if they were looking at a gorilla in the zoo. Chen Guang couldn't help panicking and immediately lowered his head to take a look. It scared him to death. He even thought that there was a hole in his swimming trunks. Fine, although this man looks pretty big, his swimming trunks are already so tight. Don't make a fuss, okay? Chen Guang didn't have the habit of looking at himself in the mirror. Although he knew that he had trained his body in the transient sea and that his muscles were like boards, he didn't really know what his body was like right now. It was said that the onlookers see the game more clearly than the players. When Chen Guang took off his clothes and revealed his perfect body, the crowd and the other contestants were all shocked. Unlike the swimmers from the other three schools, the three of them might be well developed, but they were more slender than ordinary swimmers. The muscles on their arms and back weren't too obvious. On the other hand, Chen Guang's muscles were intertwined with each other, forming a near-perfect sculpture. Regardless of which angle he looked at it from, it was filled with explosive power. Yet, when combined together, it wasn't bloated at all, making him look like a statue of David. In the words of a certain host, there was only one word to describe it: perfect. Oh my God. I've been in the same class as Chen Guang for 4 years. I didn't expect him to have such a good body. Even the martial arts stars on TV don't have a body like his, right? He's like a model. Class president, if you don't make your move, I'm going to be tempted. Sun Xiaoxuan's girlfriends couldn't hold back anymore. Sun Xiaoxuan was even more embarrassed. Her eyeballs were about to pierce into Chen Guang's body, and her breathing became rapid. Being teased by her girlfriends, she blushed and said shyly, don't talk nonsense." She couldn't even speak fluently. Damn it, this is a swimming competition, not a bodybuilding competition. Having a good body doesn't mean you can swim fast. The athletic athlete of the architecture department secretly gritted his teeth, but he did not dare to provoke him again. Obviously, Chen Guang was not a soft persimmon. He had a hot temper and seemed to be able to fight. If they really fought, even if they had 3 people on their side, they might not be able to gain much of an advantage. Now, the 13th group, please get ready. The first one is student Chen Guang from the School of Architecture and Environment, the second one is student Dong Tao from the School of Architecture and Environment, the third one is. The broadcast in the swimming hall began to read the names of the contestants in Chen Guang's group one by one. At first, the onlookers didn't think there was anything wrong, but when the 8 names were read, someone found something wrong. Those who were more familiar with the school's swimming team immediately made a ruckus. What the hell? 3 members of the school team in one group? Can't you let other people play? Exactly. There are only 3 places in the preliminary. 3 of them are in the same group. Isn't that too much? What about the others? At first, this topic was only spread in a small circle, but the students were the most active group. Seeing the lively discussion, the people next to them naturally asked what was going on. It didn't take long for the thousands of people present to know that something was wrong. For a moment, the huge swimming hall was buzzing with discussions. The crowd from time to time gave the other contestants who were about to step on the stage with deep sympathy. Even Chen Guang, who had a good body and caused a commotion, was not spared. After all, swimming and bodybuilding were not the same events. Only the other 4 innocent, ordinary contestants in Chen Guang's group knew nothing. They just felt uncomfortable being pointed at by the people in the stands. Pan Jiang, you did this, right? In the corner of the stands, Sun Xiaoxuan was already glaring at Pan Jiang angrily. No wonder you bet with me that Chen Guang couldn't pass the preliminary. I really didn't expect. Hey! Don't be like that. Pan Jiang pretended to be innocent. You can't blame it on me. Their groupings were decided by drawing lots, so what ability do I have to put the 3 of them in the same group as Chen Guang? Isn't this a coincidence? Xiaoxuan, let's ignore him. Even if Chen Guang was put in the same group as the 3 school teams, it's not like he's going to lose. Chen Guang's body is much better than those 3. I like Chen Guang. Sun Xiaoxuan's best friend next to her began to be infatuated. Sun Xiaoxuan actually didn't know much about swimming, but since Pan Jiang refused to admit it, she had no choice but to choose to believe in Chen Guang. Pan Jiang cursed in his mind, You guys know nothing. What's the use of having a good body? Just wait and see Chen Guang get lapped. Pan Jiang leaned against the fence of the stands and looked at Chen Guang with disdain. He didn't think the 3 school teams would lose at all. At that moment, the person who was the most furious was the head coach of the school swimming team. Although he didn't have much hope in finding some good seedlings in the school sports, the head coach still came. Finding new seedlings was one thing, and checking the condition of the swimmers on the team was another. As the head coach of the swimming team, he was in charge of organizing teams for the school sports day, but he didn't handle it himself. Instead, he let his assistant handle it. He didn't know that the 3 members of his team had been grouped into one group. What are these people doing? Even if you guys want to compete with each other, you should compete in the finals. What will the other students think if you guys are in the same group? The head coach walked up to the 3 school teams angrily and stared at them deeply. What's going on? You guys better tell me. Dong Tao, you tell me. The head coach targeted the athlete who got the certificate. Coach, it's really a coincidence. We went to ask later, but the groups were already like this, so we couldn't just change them. Actually, it's not that bad. We're the ones competing in the finals anyway, so it's fine. Although the head coach had a lot of authority on the swimming team, Dong Tao was considered half a national athlete now, so he wasn't afraid of him. But the 3 of you took up all the spots in the preliminary group, so it's not good. The head coach couldn't do anything to Dong Tao. We were all in the same group by drawing lots, so there's nothing bad about it. We are all school teams, so it's normal for us to win. Plus, even if the normal students can make it to the semifinals, they're just there to keep the prince company. It's not a big deal, Dong Tao said with a smile. Forget it. I hope the 3 of you can make the swimming team proud, or at least show an absolute lead. Otherwise, people will look down on the swimming team. The head coach knew that there was nothing he could do to change the situation, so he could only give the order. Coach, don't worry. We promise we'll be at least 100 meters ahead of the 4th place finisher. We'll make them speechless. Another boy from the school team laughed. Dong Tao nodded. That's right. We'll show them the difference between professionals and amateurs. Pfft. Chen Guang couldn't help but laugh when he heard what they said. You're tuning into the A Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.